Queen and honored her deep sense of duty and her resilience. France President Emmanuel Macron led the tributes, remembering her as a kind-hearted queen who was a friend of the France. U.S. President Joe Biden described the Queen as more than a monarch who defined an era. In Kenya, President-elect William Ruto said the Queen's leadership of the Commonwealth for the past 7 decades was laudable. The Queen died at Balmoral, aged 96, after reigning for 70 years. Buckingham Palace announced that the Queen died peacefully yesterday afternoon at her Scottish estate, where she had spent much of her summer. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka says the decision to withdraw from the Senate Speaker race came from his party. Kalonzo said his decision was endorsed by the Azimio la Umoja leadership. Kalonzo said that his party, in its National Executive Council on Tuesday, asked him to quit the race with knowledge and agreement with President Uhuru Kenyatta and Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga. Speaking to the Standard, Kalonzo said, and I quote, "The decision was not impromptu. I was well guided by my party and the Azimio top leadership after we realized the process had been marred with corruption and bribery. We decided we needed to keep it clean and in that case step out of the race." End of quote. The Kenya Kwanza coalition scooped the Speaker and Deputy Speaker positions in both the Senate and the National Assembly. In Senate, former Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi will be the new Speaker, deputized by Murungi Kathure. Moses Wetangula will be the new Speaker in the National Assembly, deputized by Uasin Gishu woman representative Gladys Bos Sholei. In his speech, Wetangula promised to serve members of the Parliament diligently.
I undertake to prioritize 2 key issues. These are enhancing public trust in this House and the institution of Parliament, and nurturing and upholding comity between our 2 houses and between the National Assembly and other arms of government, with particular attention to our judiciary, which has often appealed for reasonable consideration by the legislature.
Wetangula acknowledged that there was an increase of women leadership in the 13th Parliament compared to those before.
The National Assembly of the 11th Parliament had 68 female members. That number increased to 76 in the last Parliament. Today, this 13th Parliament has seen the number rise to 82, with 29 women having been elected to represent single-member constituencies. This increase is a significant step towards achieving the aspiration of the gender parity in representation as desired by our 2010 Constitution.
Wetangula has expressed his confidence in building on the past successes of the National Assembly and devising new ways to add to the glory of the House.
Honourable members, speaking of the Honourable Justin Muturi, what many of you may not know is that he's not just my predecessor. He was my roommate at the University of Nairobi, at the School of Law. He was also my classmate. He is my age mate and a long-time friend. We made our debut in Parliament together in the 7th Parliament. We were appointed earlier in our years as magistrates on the same date. Indeed, I do not know whether to call it fate, sheer coincidence, or maybe it's God's plan, but whatever it is, our paths in life have always met, and today they meet again.
President-elect William Ruto has promised to find a way of returning the National Government Constituency Development Fund that was recently declared illegal by the court. Ruto said that the fund had been impactful and the country needed its continuity. The NGCDF was outlawed by the Supreme Court a day after the August 9th election, declaring the act, which was enacted in 2013 and changed in 2015, unconstitutional. That's your news at the top of the hour. My name is Stephanie Wangari.
Welcome to Friday, and what are we looking at on these Nairobi streets? It looks like traffic has started to pick up in your usual suspected areas, a little bit here and there as you're getting into the CBD coming off Uhuru Highway. Jogoo Road has started to build up and just, a little bit here and there, but it's not too bad on the Thika Superhighway at all. We're likely to see outbound traffic today. We're also looking at some traffic coming in out of Westlands, but still slim pickings. We'll take a look in a short while what it looks like. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter and try to keep things moving this Friday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes
Good morning
in punching
and welcome
up,
to
not
Friday.
down.
How are you doing
This
today?
is the
Hope everything is well in your neck of the woods. I see with me one gentleman. I'll tell you about him in a minute. The week has come to an end. That week going into another one, and it's Friday. How are you doing today? I am all right. CT is here with me. CT.
Yes.
How is it going?
I'm here with you.
How is it crack-a-lacking?
How is it doing who and what?
Do you speak to the microphone?
Yes, there's a microphone down here. How are you today?
Is it crack-a-lacking?
It is crack-a-lacking.
Oh, there was a microphone down there.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Kosawa lakini.
Si ile microphone ambayo inashika vitu juu upande kwa mataifa yote. Everything,
Okay. You're fine though?
Super.
Okay. That's great. Many things happened yesterday.
Didn't they just?
Yeah, they did. The day ended, excuse me, in a rather interesting manner, which I'm sure we'll chat about in a minute after we say good morning to one Eric Latif, who is just here to my left.
Good morning.
How are you?
Nilikuwa nimekaa nashindwa kwani mimi sisalimiwi.
That now is who is speaking is Eric on your left.
Kwani mimi nimetoka nchi nyingine.
Come on.
Surely.
When he's asking, is he a child of a lesser God?
Surely.
You are not.
Hamjambo.
Atu Chambo. Si ni hivyo?
Yes, ni hivyo. Hivyo ndivyo ilivyo.
Okay.
Mambo iko namna hiyo. Ndio ko?
Yes.
Mambo ni aje?
Poa sana.
Uko fiti?
Poa.
Uko poa?
Uko poa.
Sawa.
Hey. My head is paining me.
Charles Timothy III.
Yes.
How you doing?
Super. Thank you very much for asking.
Splendid. He said splendid.
Splendid.
Yes.
He's splendid.
Splendid. In the pink. Yes.
Yeah, now your name, Bwana, is a big one.
People just referring to me carelessly.
You're Charles.
Sisi.
In fact, now you're dropping the CT. You're like, I'm Charles.
No more CT.
No more CT.
Charles.
Come back. City. Charles.
Charles.
And Charles.
Charles.
Hey.
Eh?
Man. You know how it is that you cannot imagine life without certain things.
Yes.
The planet we live in my mind, could not be imagined without Queen Elizabeth.
Imagine.
I mean, somewhere at the back of my mind is like she's just going to continue living and living and living.
Yeah, she'll always be there,
Yes. Now she's become an ancestor.
Imagine. She's gone. She's gone, yes. And the king, it's already straight up. The queen is dead. Long live the king.
Inakuwaga hivyo. Now that is now tradition for you.
Imagine. Immediately the announcement comes with the king died this afternoon. I mean, the queen died this afternoon.
Immediately.
The king will remain with the family and then will travel. It's not a tea.
I just tap.
There's nothing even like, the designated
to wait
successor.
until-
There is no long story. The queen died. The king will be traveling. That's...
Unajua, hiyo tradition, sisi wa Kenya, we are right there.
tuko hapo.
Hapo, shingo pandi, lakini tuko hapo.
hapo.
We are hapo. The election is upheld. I know. But I'll just smile and give you the sword.
Yeah, but my president is...
Okay, I'll hand over smoothly. Yeah. We are there. We are right there. If you
We're heading.
No. Believe me, we are there. Okay? See, today is what day? Friday.
Yes, the 9th of September.
Yes, and when did we have this story of Supreme Court?
On Monday.
Precisely.
The ruling.
Precisely. Traffic jams are back.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
People are talking with normal voices. Okay?
Yep.
There's a headache I had which has gone. Okay?
You're all right.
Yes. Ndu has taken over the baton. She now has a headache. Yes. So, believe me, we are there.
We are, right?
We definitely are there.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we even elected our duly elected representatives, went and elected further representatives who are going to lead them. No chairs were thrown. No insults
We
were
have
heard.
salaries to pay to some 300 people.
Yes, exactly.
Fresh.
New.
Mwisho ya hii mwezi.
So there's work to be
Leo
done.
tarehe ngapi? 9. End of this month. We have people to pay.
Our servants.
Our servants.
Who will soon start behaving as though they are our lords.
Yeah.
Yes, if they've not already started.
No, give them about a week or so.
Did you see the traffic jam yesterday? That reminds you we're in town. Tumeingia town.
Yes.
Why? Anyway, welcome to the conversation. Now we're talking about those new leaders. We'll be having 2 of them in the studio today. Both coming from the Senate. One is a nominated Senator, Gloria Orwoba, who has been nominated by ODM. She will be with us at 7 a.m. to talk about what we should expect from first-time legislators such as her. And then at 8 o'clock, we'll have somebody who is actually going to Parliament for the first time, but who has been a champion of very many things for very many years. Okiya Omtatah, Senator for Busia County, will be with us at 8 a.m. Is he the modern people's watchman? Remember that tag, the people's watchman. It was given to who? Mr. Martin Shikuku. Why?
Martin Shikuku, at a time when it was not only unpopular but unseemly to utter even a syllable against the government, Shikuku simply strode on like a colossus and continued on that merry march. If it was wrong, Shikuku would say it was wrong.
He colossus did it.
Kabisa, colossus did it. Until he went to State House and ate ugali.
Yeah. And then that was it.
And then thereafter, he was a watchman.
He became a watchman.
Yes.
Tell us about... at 9 o'clock, of course, Dr. Marcy Korir will be here. Today is Friday. Healthy Friday Conversations.
Okay, so let's look at COVID with what's happening in the country. So we're looking at vaccines that have been... Let's just look at vaccines. Today is, interestingly enough, day 902. Yesterday was day 902 as concerns COVID infections and the report and response on the same in the country. And so far, a total of 21,259,546 vaccines have been administered around the country. Of these, 17,756,045 had been administered to the adult population that is over 18 years. An additional 1,940,362 are doses administered to those between the ages of 15 and 17, and 409,000 below 15 and above 12 years were 1,153,759 booster doses.
Let's
Okay.
acknowledge something, actually.
Yes.
You've said it's day 9 what?
902.
And brief number what?
This is brief number 892.
Imagine.
So just short of 10.
Let's acknowledge that the Ministry of Health has, without fail, released this statement daily. For 892 days.
Yes.
Every day without fail, they're like, this is the situation.
In terms of years, we know that 1 year has 360?
365.
5, sometimes 4 days.
66.
6, eh? It's not 4?
No.
What? Hakuna discount?
Hakuna.
Good.
365 and a quarter days.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Those are many years.
Imagine, for more than 2 years, the Ministry of
single
every day,
Every day.
without fail,
Yeah.
the Ministry of Health has released this communication.
Yes.
See, that
When we talk
mach-
about things, it's always important to actually look at it.
that
and say,
machine, which claps, we put it on?
Sindio, we put that machine that claps.
so that we
let me
clap
look.
for the
Let
food.
me look for it.
for it.
Yes, there.
We clap for the minute.
Yes.
Down to the Ministry of Health. I've been folks
Yeah.
worker bees who've been doing this.
Oh yes.
Indeed. All right, let's look really, really quickly. Let me just tell you one thing about what's happening.
Uh-huh.
They're still looking at COVID cases, lockdowns in China. It still looks like it might be an issue for a lot. Because why there's an outcry is because these financial hubs in China are being shut down. Not necessarily that there is a huge number of those who've been infected with COVID, because the numbers that we are talking about are 150. 10 in some cases, 16 in another case. But the world is crying because obviously there's financial loss when a financial hub has closed down. So that is going to continue for some time. And it's interesting that even when we see that China and India are at the forefront of getting some of these non-needle vaccines developed, they're also saying, in as much as it's just a few cases to you, we still have a zero COVID policy and we're going to stick to that no matter what.
Nice. Okay, we're live streaming the show. You know what we need to do? We need you to let us know where you're tuned in from this morning. Just go on to our Facebook page, SpiceFM or tag us on Twitter at SpiceFM or Instagram as well, SpiceFM or YouTube, where we are live streaming as well. Facebook, Facebook KE. SpiceFM KE.
Anything you want, no problem.
19 after 6.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice.
I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me.
Mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 13. We'll see highs of 20. 24 will be the high in a cloudy Nakuru at 14. And it's 13 and cloudy in Nyeri. Highs of 19 and lows of 13. 12 degrees and clear in Eldoret. Highs of 23 and lows of 11. It's 21 and raining in Mombasa this morning. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 21. Malindi is raining as well at 24. Highs of 29 and lows of 24. Kisumu is partly cloudy at 19. Highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 27 in Kakamega where it's cloudy at 19. Mostly clear conditions at 20 in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 18. And it's mostly clear at 20 in Dar es Salaam with highs of 29. We'll see lows of 20. 16 degrees and mostly cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 27. And we'll see highs of 30 in a rainy Lagos at 24. Kinshasa is clear at 22, highs of 30. And looking at 30 into afternoon Friday, we'll see highs of 32 and lows of 20 in Beijing. It's cloudy in Paris at 16, and it's mostly cloudy in London, highs of 20 and lows of 15. And still, Thursday night in New York is clear at 21. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 26 and lows of 17.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 21 minutes after 6.
Mornings done right.
Many people are online. Many.
Yes, there are. Atieno Jermaine Jackson says, good morning. I don't know if this is English or...
It's good, Ville.
Oh,
It's good vile.
I was like, huh? Vile. It's mantle shifting in the Commonwealth. Here, the 13th August House commenced, and House leadership is Kenya Kwanza. We are on the cusp of change. Good morning and happy Friday. Mombasa is spiced. That's where Roberts is this morning. Yusuf Sebit says good morning from Abu Dhabi. And Muremi says good morning as well. Idewa Francis says good morning, tuning from Mombasa County. Have a great day. And Ashley is tuned in this morning as well and says he's tuned in. Ondicho says good morning to you. Tuned in from Kwamtutsi. TGIF, happy weekend ahead. Good morning, tuned in from Kilifi. That's where Kennedy Olwatch is this morning. Karibuni, we see you all. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. City, are we still in Chad?
We are still in Chad. We are there today. God willing, on Monday we'll still be there.
Okay.
Right. All truth is good, but not all truth is good to say.
All truth is good, but not all truth is good to say.
Yes.
Oh, even today? Okay.
Chad, you. No. You know me, I'm straightforward. I like speaking the truth.
Well, it doesn't mean you should just be saying it anyhow. Thank you very much.
In Kenya, it's not anyhow.
Howly.
Oh, in Kenya, it's anyhowly.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You're not just, like that for unleashing the truth. Okay. The Standard newspaper is available at your nearest vendor, which could be by the street, in a shop somewhere. Just go and get it. And if you go to page 21, you'll find the QR code. Scan that QR code. When you scan the QR code, then you're able to even read the paper on a digital format. You can scan it there for stories, photos, videos, and audio clips. But also, you will be able to get some goodies from the Standard. You can get some cash rewards. You can get some cash vouchers or some shopping vouchers. All these, when you buy your copy of the Standard, look for the QR code, scan it. That's the chance. What's on the front pages?
Okay, so I've got the Standard. Queen Elizabeth II, 1926 to 2022. The Queen is dead. Britain's longest-serving monarch has died at the age of 96 after reigning for 70 years. Yesterday, her family had gathered at her estate in Balmoral after concerns grew about her health. This is covered from pages 2 to 6. Of course, being the head of the Commonwealth and 15 other territories around the world, this is a big deal. On the front page of The Nation, Queen Elizabeth II transition. Britain's Queen Elizabeth II, who rose to the throne while on tour in Kenya after the death of her father, King George VI, on February 6th, 1952, died at Balmoral Castle in Aberdeenshire in Scotland yesterday. She was 96, leading the monarchy for 70 years and 214 days. From the final years of the British Empire into the age of social media, she became one of the world's most recognized and respected figures, and her death not only brings to an end the longest reign in the history of the United Kingdom, but also pulls down the curtain on one of the longest reigns by any head of state,
Any human being
in the world.
Ooh.
Yep, so that's what's on the front page of Standard and Nation.
Hey.
Today, we'll look more into those stories.
Do you have the Star?
I do.
Uh-huh.
Headline. Okay. There are 4, but main one.
Okay.
Ruto hints at big names in cabinet.
Uh-huh.
This is crystal gazing. People are still at it, trying to determine who will be in that cabinet. This story is carried on page, rather more comprehensively on page 4 and 5 of the Star. In the Siasa section of the Star, how wagering on Musalia Wetangula finally paid off. Okay? Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
There's another headline.
There is another one. Yes, in blue. Ruto outfoxes Raila as Wetangula, Kingi elected speakers. Yes. Right. The other two are, one is historical. The Royals rush to Queen's bedside as doctors monitor her health. Okay, we know how that went.
Yeah.
Then a place in
They have it
Madhyoya.
on the front page.
They
They didn't update it. That was like a 4 p.m. story.
Surely.
That's what I'm saying. It's historical.
Where? Okay.
Shidapo. Body of mom 70 exhumed after son admits axe murder.
What?
This happened in Mathioya. Yes, the guy confessed to having bludgeoned his mom to death.
Good Lord.
Yes.
Hey.
So.
Daily business?
It had not arrived by the time I passed my person.
Oh. Your person had not personed it.
No, my person was there. But
But you didn't have it.
I don't understand how these things are delivered sometimes.
But he had the nation.
By snail mail.
He did have the nation.
He had the nation.
He did.
And he didn't have the
No,
Business
I don't.
Daily.
No, he didn't have the nation. Sorry,
He didn't have the nation.
No, because I thought it was the nation. Then I realized I took the standard thinking it was the nation.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey.
So I have two standards.
Okay.
Well done. You're keeping your standards up, I see.
Okay, well done.
But I have the East African.
Really? Would you please share the headline of the East African, Steve?
Same, no, that headline is standard.
Also the back page of the East African.
Thank you so much. Fund managers turn to bonds as equities tumble. It's actually a very interesting story, this one. Yes.
Fund managers turn to bonds as equities tumble. Okay.
Then OPEC fund puts $40 million to TB. Sorry, that's me. It's actually TDB, but I started with a B first.
TDB.
It means Southern African Trade and Development Bank. Yes.
Cool. Hey, they have oil money, that bank.
That's billion shillings.
Okay. Okay.
Influence peddling, if you ask me.
Chap, eh?
Quickly.
All right, so that big story then from the UK, Queen Elizabeth died at the age of 90. What?
96.
96. And so what happens next? King becomes king immediately. Charles becomes the king immediately, but there'll be very many rituals before his coronation, proper coronation as king. And the Standard have taken a story written by the BBC. I can just take you through that one in about a minute and a half.
Okay.
A number of practices and traditional steps which he must go through to be crowned king. First one is deciding his name. I think we already know that he says he's going to be called King Charles III, which is picking one of the names that he has. His full name is Charles Philip Arthur George. So Charles Philip Arthur George will be King Charles III. For instance, his grandfather, George VI, his first name was Albert, but he used his middle name, George. Although he is heir to the throne, Prince William will not automatically become Prince of Wales immediately. However, he immediately inherits his father's other title, the Duke of Cornwall. His wife, Catherine, will be the Duchess of Cornwall immediately. There'll also be a new title for Charles's wife, whose full title will be the Queen Consort. Camilla, the Queen Consort. Consort is a term used for the spouse of the monarch. In the first 24 hours or so after his mother's death, Charles will be officially proclaimed king. This happens at St. James's Palace in London in front of a ceremonial body known as the Accession Council. The Accession Council is made up of members of the Privy Council. These are a group of senior MPs, past and present, and peers, as well as some senior civil servants, the Commonwealth High Commissioners, and the Lord Mayor of London. More than 700 people are entitled, in theory, to attend this Accession Council. But given the short notice, maybe it will be a fewer people. At the last Accession Council in 1952, about 200 people attended. The king does not attend this particular event. At the meeting, the death of Queen Elizabeth will be announced by the Lord President of the Privy Council, and a proclamation will be read aloud. The wording of the proclamation can change, but it has traditionally been a series of prayers and pledges commending the previous monarch and pledging support for the new one. This proclamation is then signed by a number of senior figures, including the Prime Minister, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and the Lord Chancellor. As with all these ceremonies, there will be attention paid to what might have been altered, added, or updated. The Accession Council meets again, usually a day later, and this time the king will attend along with the Privy Council. There is no swearing in at the start of the British monarch, but there is a declaration made by the new king, and in line with the tradition dating from the early 18th century, he will make an oath to preserve the Church of Scotland. After a fanfare of trumpeters, a public proclamation will be made declaring Charles as the new king. This will be made from a balcony above the Friary Court in St. James's Palace by an official known as the Garter King of Arms. He will say, "God save the king," and for the first time since 1952, when the national anthem is played in the UK, they will be saying, "God save the king." The symbolic high point of the accession will be the coronation when Charles is formally crowned. Because of the preparation needed, the coronation is not likely to happen very soon after Charles's accession. Queen Elizabeth, for example, succeeded to the throne in February 1952, but she was crowned in 1953. A year later. It's a whole process that goes on and on and on and on and on. So what happens on this coronation? It's an Anglican religious service carried by the Archbishop of Canterbury. At the climax of the Canterbury, he'll place St. Edward's crown on Charles's head. It's a solid gold crown dating from 1661. He'll just wear it at the coronation. It weighs about 2.2 kilograms.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult to
So
carry
you just
on
have
the
it
head for a
and then,
minute,
okay,
isn't it?
sour, you remove it. Unlike royal weddings, the coronation is a state occasion where the government pays. Royal weddings, the royal family pays for its things. The new king will take the coronation oath in front of the watching world. During this elaborate ceremony, he'll receive the orb and scepter as symbols of this new role, and the Archbishop of Canterbury will place the solid gold crown on his head. He becomes the head of the Commonwealth, an association of 56 independent countries and 2.4 billion people. He is also going to be head of state for the UK and 14 other countries, which are called the Realm. These countries in the Realm are, number 1, Australia, number 2, Antigua and Barbuda, number 3, the Bahamas, Belize, Canada, Grenada, Jamaica, Papua New Guinea, St. Christopher and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, New Zealand, Solomon Islands, and Tuvalu.
You said it like it's just here.
Tuvalu. Over Tuvalu. So a long process and a colorful one that we're going to be seeing color for a number of months.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yes. Let's take a break. 26 to 7. Kenya's biggest conversation wants to look at how the roads are looking like.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Number Them Makweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it and he shouldn't be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, what's happening at a few minutes past 6:30? Some traffic building up on certain parts of Mombasa Road. It will be that way for some time. We're also looking at traffic on Uhuru Highway getting out into the city. Coming out of Western, it's not too painful, at least not for now. The Thika Superhighway, some traffic just going towards the Pangani Underpass. Let's take a look at Jogo Road. We're getting into the city. At this point, will not be too painful, but we will see that build up later. Foggy conditions continue. We're looking at some outbound traffic, and this is outbound the city, west going out. Then you're going to go to Limuru, out to Naivasha, Nakuru, and then out into other parts of the country, and we see that foggy situations really low this morning, so you want to make sure that you're ready for that and be careful as much as possible. Let's check back in about half hour, see what the traffic situation looks like. Help us out as well. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
23 to 7. Looking at the headlines, this interesting post by Julia. Julia says, "You can't believe what my 91-year-old mom told me on Saturday when I asked whether she'll be planting potatoes or wheat this season. She said, I will decide after the Supreme Court judgment."
Right. And she's yet to inquire the significance of the judgment.
Yeah. What else is in the papers?
Okay, so obviously we saw what was happening. I mean, we're going to keep looking at Queen Elizabeth's stories, and it will be in the limelight for some time. What was interesting to me as well is looking at then what happens when they said London Bridge is down, is that then we're looking at the coronation that happens of King Charles, and it will happen in about a year. The assumption is that it would be kind of like an immediate thing.
He's sworn in like
as in now quickly next Tuesday. No. It's going to take a year, and then within that year, they're going to phase out the currency that has her image on it, and it will now be currency that has, King Charles's image on it. So all that currency will be faded out. New currency will be printed. Everything changes.
But I told you we're similar. Even us. We have dates.
We do.
Yes. When we're having the elections.
Yeah.
When we go to the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court issues their judgment. When the president is sworn in. When we... look at this. When the members of parliament are given an opportunity to tell God what they're going to do, which they know they're not going to do.
Touché.
Then we elect...
They end with, so help me God.
Yes.
So if they don't do it, you say, God didn't help me.
These guys go around helping God. That's why they have a problem. They'll tell God doing God job. But this one we know better. Okay. So... we also know when it is that the president will actually be told, now, brother, stop being acting.
Now you are
Now you are it. Now, carry forward, move forward. So, we are right there.
Okay. So let me share this story with you. It's a health one, and I think it's a big one. A new Oxford malaria vaccine is world-changing, according to scientists. Malaria is still an issue. Malaria is still a very big issue in this part of the world. A malaria vaccine with world-changing potential has been developed by scientists at the University of Oxford. The team expect it to be rolled out next year after trials showed up to 80% protection against the deadly disease. Crucially, the scientists, their vaccine is cheap, and they already have a deal to manufacture more than 100 million doses a year. The charity Malaria No More said recent progress meant children dying from malaria could end in our lifetime. It has taken more than a century to develop effective vaccines, as the malaria parasite, which is spread by mosquitoes, is spectacularly complex and elusive. It is a constantly moving target, shifting forms inside the body, which make it hard to immunize against. Last year, the World Health Organization gave the historic go-ahead for the first vaccine developed by the pharmaceutical giant GSK to be used in Africa. However, the Oxford team claim their approach is more effective and can be manufactured for a greater scale. Trial results from 409 children in Nanoro, Burkina Faso, have been published in the Lancet Infectious Diseases. It shows 3 initial doses followed by a booster a year later, giving up to 80% protection. We think these data are the best data yet in the field with any malaria vaccine, according to Professor Adrian Hill, director of the Jenner Institute at the university. The team will start the process of getting their vaccine approved in the next few weeks, but a final decision will hinge on the results of a trial of 4,800 children due before the end of the year. So, finally, it looks like
we're heading there.
Yes.
I mean, some big news and big developments.
There's a conversation.
For humanity.
There's a conversation, though, that scientists keep having, and it's a back and forth. how do you ensure that this particular microorganism doesn't evolve? How do you ensure that it doesn't actually get stronger? But more importantly, when you lay out a plan which will help extinguish this particular microorganism, how do you then ensure that people adhere to it? Because with the time, if people don't adhere, you yourself, the partaker of that particular drug, you will develop resistance. Now, the microorganism that likes to feed on your blood, by the way, your blood contains particles of this particular thing. It too will also develop a certain immunity.
Why?
Yes. So, it's a battle. Yes, with every development of a new drug, there's always this messaging of, this time, we've cracked it.
We've cracked it.
And this will be a thing of the past. Certain things are a thing of the past. What is certainly a thing of the past is the availability of drugs that can keep the disease at bay and can keep it from killing people. That one, we've gotten it. But what I'm saying is, how do you cure human nature? Because...
Interesting question.
Yes.
Cure human nature.
Yes, how do you cure it? Because they'll be told, this is what we worked out and this is how it works. And then someone will decide, yeah, I know, yeah, that's what you said, but yeah, I think.
Kuna vile.
Yeah, mi vile naona. Yes.
I see this one. All right, tell us one of the stories that you were looking at.
Right. Let me tell you a story. Happy story, yo. You know, there are things that keep happening in this country that are not only bizarre, but they're crazy. Huh? I'm looking at the Nairobian, and I'm looking at page 4 of the Nairobian. The headline is mob pushed man, not man pushed mob. Mob pushed man to set wife, daughter ablaze over witchcraft allegations. It's something that keeps popping up and creeping up, and it's worrying. Because you would have assumed this is something that will have been gotten over, people would have gotten rid of these norms and have moved on. But no, okay? Police have had to use every trick to rescue the two from angry mob after mentally ill grade 6 girl was alleged found dancing on a grave. Police officers were forced to dress a woman. Hey, what's happening to me this morning?
Start again.
Okay.
Police?
Police officers were forced to dress a woman accused of being a witch in police uniform to rescue her from a lynch mob. More than 30 police officers from Etago police station in South Mugirango, Kisii, found themselves in a tough spot when they came to the aid of a 36-year-old woman and her daughter. The officers under the command of Chief Inspector Pamela Kasaya had responded to a distress call from a family in Otendo village, Nyabera location, South Mugirango. The family feared 2 of their members would be lynched by a large mob of men who had gathered at the home of the late Reverend Alois Mogoi, who had been buried a day before. Some kept vigil at the deceased home, while the rest responded to screams from women mourners who had accused a grade 6 girl and her mother of dancing at the graveside. It's bizarre, this one.
All right.
Chief Inspector Kasaya told the Nairobian they fired into the air minutes past 3 a.m. in order to rescue the two from the mob. The villagers had threatened to harm anyone who came to the aid of the two. 2 provincial administration police officers had rescued the two and hid them in the house in the compound. I took off my police jacket and handed it over to the woman. She walked out of the compound in the company of 2 male officers without being noticed. One of them divulged. It's bizarre.
And this is midnight.
3 a.m. is
it's in the dead of night.
I mean, those hours when we wake up. But I mean, surely.
Yeah, the rest of the world is asleep. Really.
Yeah, but then also remember, some people have traditions. If the person had been buried the day before, there'd still be people in the home.
Yes. Keeping vigil.
Yes, there would be. And I read this article, and they're saying that they received information from the villagers elders, that his granddaughter had been caught dancing around the late Reverend's grave. Now,
so what does that symbolize? If someone is dancing on your grave,
what it doesn't symbolize, according to this article, is that the community does not believe somebody could be mentally ill. But I don't even think you need to be mentally ill, as in that is a condition that you live with on a daily basis. When people suffer extreme trauma, you will go out of your mind.
Yeah,
You will
even if
behave
temporarily,
strangely.
even if.
Yes, it's temporary. You will behave strangely. Yes.
But what is the superstition? If you are found dancing on someone's grave, you're the one who's behind the death. You are a witch. What is it?
Actually, all of the above. It just depends on what you
Plus others.
Plus others, yes. You probably caused the death.
And you're happy that it happened.
Or you're using that death to now
Now
conjure up more witchery.
deaths.
Yes. So, interpretations galore.
Yeah.
And yet, you will find this guy was a reverend, which means that the people around there probably espouse the Christian
faith.
Yes, but then this duality of faiths.
Yes.
I'm a Christian, yes.
You're mixing it up, though.
It may not even be true that this girl was found dancing.
No, it may not be true. Somebody reported.
It's just someone who said, Niliona.
But is this not the case, Eric, where on many occasions someone is either saved from lynching or is linked to even burn because someone said.
Yes. Yes.
They said they found. You read the article, did they find? No.
Nothing.
But the person is dead. So what is it about witches? It's like, for this to happen, it means this community believes that there are people who practice the arts of witchery.
Yes.
Or they are witchcrafts. Or warlocks.
Okay, let me tell you a story. For the first time since independence, the Kenyatas will not be in parliament. Since independence, when there's no kin of Jomo Kenyatta who is going to be a member of parliament, all right? The faint hope that Kenyatta family had harbored of retaining a foothold in parliament was through Christina Pratt, Uhuru Kenyatta's sister. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who's currently the chair of the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya. The president's sister, who is married to Liberia-born Victor Pratt, was number 2 in the Jubilee Party list of nominated senators, while Margaret Kamar, former Uasin Gishu senator, was number 1. But the number of senators that Jubilee managed to get elected into parliament determined the number of people it could nominate.
Yes.
So Jubilee just ended up nominating the number 1 person on the list, who is Professor Margaret Kamar, and therefore Christina Pratt missed out. The Kenyatta family was thrust into the political scene when the Kikuyu Central Association sent Nairobi city meter reader and family patriarch Johnson Kamau Ngengi to present a land rights petition to the Queen of Britain. The man, who would later be known as Jomo Kenyatta, became Kenya's first prime minister in 1963 and president in 1964. His family has held a huge sway in Kenya's politics, spanning decades. Between 1964 and 1974, the founding father, who was MP for the larger Gatondo, sat in the House alongside his nephew, Dr. Njoroge Mungai, who was the MP for Dagoretti, his niece, Jemima Geshaga, who was a nominated MP, and brother-in-law, Biyu Koinange, from Kiambaa. In 1974, the four were joined by Jomo's eldest son, Peter Muigai Kenyatta, who was elected the Juja MP after defeating freedom fighter Geto Wakahengeri. 1979 elections, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta had died and was replaced by another nephew, Gengi Muigai, as Dr. Mungai recaptured his Dagoretti parliamentary seat after he replaced his sister as nominated MP after losing in 1974 to Johnson Muthiora. Peter Muigai died in a tragic stumble during the 1979 elections, and Geto Wakahengeri reclaimed his seat unopposed, while Koinange lost to Tycoon Jenga Karume. In 1983 elections, the Kenyatta family reclaimed the Juja seat through his brother-in-law, George Mohoho, while Ngengi retained his seat, but Dr. Mungai lost to Christopher Kamuyu. 1992 and 97. Beth Mugo, who's Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's niece, was elected Dagoretti MP on DP ticket and was joined by Uhuru in a midterm nomination to Parliament in 2001. 2002, Uhuru is elected the MP for Gatondo South, which he retained in 2007 elections, and then he clinched the presidency in 2013. The 2013 elections saw the election of more Kenyatta kin into Parliament, even as Miss Beth Mugo won a 5th term in Parliament as Dagoretti MP. The newly elected Kenyatta kin to Parliament were Paul Koinange in Kiambaa and Nyokavi Gadesha as Kiambu Woman Rep. Gadesha lost in 2017, but Koinange was re-elected, and Mogo was nominated as senator. Another relative, Anne Wanjiko Kibe, was elected Gatundu North MP. Koinange died in 2021, paving the way for by-election. The family of Kenya's first Vice President, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, retains presence in Parliament. Through who? Raila's brother, Oburu Oginga, is the new Siaya senator after serving for 5 years at Iala. Also elected in the just concluded polls is Ruth Odinga, a former Kisumu deputy governor who will serve as Kisumu woman rep. Dr. Oginga's eldest son, Jaoko Oburu, shelved his ambitions for the Langata parliamentary seat, while his brother, Elijah Oburu, lost in the ODM Kisumu Central parliamentary seat. Jalango Midiwo, Raila's first cousin, lost to Elisha Odhiambo in the ODM nominations. Yeah? Yeah, so for the first time, nobody in that lineage of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta
is in Parliament. That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Even as we look at that, President-elect William Ruto has said CDF will be back. It's value for money.
Mm-hmm.
There was all this, hullabaloo about, okay, so what happens to CDF? Is our control gone? President-elect William Ruto has told MPs that he will find a way of returning the National Government Constituency Development Fund, otherwise known as the NGCDF, that was recently declared illegal by court. Ruto said the fund had been impactful and the country needed its continuity. Don't worry at all, he reassured, not because of any other reasons or some cause, but because CDF has really given us value for money in many areas. He told Kenya Kwanza Alliance parliamentary group at his residence in Karen, Nairobi. The CDF was outlawed by the Supreme Court a day before the August 9th general election, declaring the act, which was enacted in 2013 and changed in 2015, unconstitutional. This means that CDF committees in constituencies are disbanded. Fresh units will be set up under the new system that has MPs as more of observers than active participants in deciding how the fund is used. It was the end of an era for MPs. They lost control and management of the CDF projects after the new law came into force. Ruto also said he had opened discussions on the enhancement of the National Government Affirmative Action for Women, which is the NGAF, given that cash also had an impact on the community. He said, we will be entertaining a discussion that NGAF can be enhanced. We know that many women reps have been going through difficulties as they are judged by the same standard as other MPs. He urged MPs to be considerate to women reps. I know the resistance that normally comes whenever we want to start empowering women. You should not be afraid.
Mm-hmm. They will do something about it.
Yes.
I think it's an interesting debate to have, because on the one hand, I see the value of having a devolved fund that is talking about development. So the national government has some development functions as well, all right? Mm-hmm. How do you get communities to be directly involved in determining what kind of development projects that they want to have, especially in those functions that are still at the national level? Yeah. Education is a big one.
You know, what I find particularly interesting is how do you then go around a Supreme Court ruling?
The Supreme Court was on a specific law, the CDF Act 2013. By the time this case was reaching the Supreme Court, it had started in the High Court by Wanjiru Gekonyo and the others, where they had gone to challenge the CDF Act 2013. It was found to be unconstitutional. You know what intelligent legislators and those in the executive did? They said, all right, so it's unconstitutional because the then CDF Act 2013 had MPs being in charge of CDF. And the unconstitutionality was the fact that MPs should not be playing the role of executive. That is an executive role. They should only be playing the role of oversight, representation, legislation. So the clever people, they said, okay, so repeal CDF Act 2013, create a new fund, which is a function of the national government. Call it the National Government CDF. And they came with a National Government CDF Act of 2015. Mm-hmm. So what is currently in place is not a parliament fund. It is a national government fund, which has a role of development. The only thing that they do is they say development shall be taken to the grassroots level at community constituency level. Constituency members shall elect people into a committee. Okay? That committee shall be sitting and prioritizing projects and development projects.
Under whose chairmanship?
Local chairman. The only thing that you're going to do is, because you're a constituency, you are going to have your member of parliament as the patron of the CDF. They don't have any executive role. Their job is just advisory and oversight and representation to make sure, for example, as you are electing the members of the CDF committee, there is balance between all parts of the constituency. The CDF committee is deciding where projects are going to be, there is balance across all parts of the constituency. That is why he's a patron, or she, the member of parliament,
and
has no executive role. So the CDF Act of 2015 right now is not like the one of 2013, which was found unconstitutional, even by the Supreme Court.
So essentially, we still have CDF.
Yes. However, when Kina Wanjiru Ekonyo saw that these guys have done the thing and have created NGCDF Act of 2015, they went back to court and they said, can you find that this NGCDF Act 2015 is also illegal? The High Court said, okay, it's all right, but we understand there's still a matter that's related to CDF that's in the Supreme Court. Let's wait for the Supreme Court to make a determination, and then we shall be guided and now make out. So now what we're waiting for is the High Court now to rule on CDF Act 2015.
Because the Supreme Court said this thing.
Supreme Court said 2013 law, wrong. Now the High Court wants to see, does the 2015 law also offend the Constitution?
You know,
Kizungu Bingi?
Yes, it is, because CDF goes to the constituency. It was a Constitution Development Fund. Where did it come from?
The whole idea was it was the precursor to devolution. It was the bridge to devolution.
It was,
yes.
and it was a successor to district focus.
Yes.
Okay. My point really is, all these monies come from a central place.
Yes.
Before they're disbursed.
Yes.
We've seen how that works out with the counties.
Yes.
We've seen how it worked out for the longest time with the judicial system until they got their own little setup where the money goes directly to them, isn't it?
Yes.
So, in real terms, from where I sit, I don't see a change. No. Because you may say the MP has no executive role. An MP in this country who has been elected by the people,
yes,
he is going to have a say.
The truth of the matter is, in fact, even why the MPs are pushing for it, and when the Nga fund, is because they have an influence on the election of the committee.
Huge.
And the decision of the committee. And in some cases, like in the case of Didmas Barasa, when we spoke to him, you have even an influence on which vehicle to use belonging to the CDF. So,
you know, I have seen in constituencies where your members of parliament were chap, they devolved this thing, they hardly ever did anything with it. There were committees at every ward that...
You guys decide.
Precisely, the money comes. So it's not as though it's going to change for some. Those who want to personalize it, yes, there'll be a bit of a hiccup.
Yeah. Keep it here for more. We are going to talk to a first-time senator in the next hour. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I am Stephanie Wangari. Tributes continue to flood from all over the world following the death of Queen Elizabeth II yesterday afternoon at Balmoral Castle. World leaders and dignitaries who have paid tribute to the Queen include U.S. President Joe Biden, former U.S. President Barack Obama, and Irish President Michael D. Higgins. In Kenya, President-elect William Ruto said the Queen's leadership of the Commonwealth for the past 7 decades was laudable. Recently appointed British Prime Minister Liz Truss has praised Queen Elizabeth's legacy and her impact across the globe.
The death of Her Majesty the Queen is a huge shock to the nation and to the world. Queen Elizabeth II was the rock on which modern Britain was built. Our country has grown and flourished under her reign. Britain is the great country it is today because of her. She ascended the throne just after the Second World War. She championed the development of the Commonwealth from a small group of 7 countries to a family of 56 nations, spanning every continent of the world. We are now a modern, thriving, dynamic nation. Through thick and thin, Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka says the decision to withdraw from the Senate Speaker race came from his party. Kalonzo said his decision was endorsed by the Azimio la Umoja leadership. Kalonzo said his party had in its National Executive Council on Tuesday asked him to quit the race with knowledge and agreement with President Uhuru Kenyatta and Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga. In talking to the Standard yesterday, he said the decision was not impromptu. I was well guided by my party and the Azimio top leadership after we realized the process had been marred with corruption and bribery. End of quote. Former Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi won the seat with 46 out of 69 votes, while his deputy, Meru Senator Kathuri Murungi, was elected unopposed. Kalonzo's move paved the way for the former Kilifi Governor to easily sail through as the 4th Speaker of the Senate. The Kenya Kwanza coalition scooped the Speaker and Deputy Speaker positions in both the Senate and the National Assembly. In Senate, former Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi will be the new Speaker, deputized by Murungi Kadhure.
I shall respect and uphold the rule of law, legality, and nurture the culture of constitutionalism. And I shall protect, defend the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, and always safeguard the mandate and role of the Senate.
Moses Wetangula will be the new Speaker in the National Assembly, deputized by Uasin Gishu woman representative Gladys Boss Sholei. In his speech, Wetangula promised to serve members of Parliament diligently.
I undertake to prioritize 2 key issues. These are enhancing public trust in this House and the institution of Parliament, and nurturing and upholding comity between our 2 houses and between the National Assembly and other arms of government, with particular attention to our judiciary, which has often appealed for reasonable consideration by the legislature.
Wetangula expressed his confidence in building on the past successes of the National Assembly and devising new ways to add to the glory of the House.
Honourable members, speaking of the Honourable Justin Muturi, what many of you may not know is that he's not just my predecessor. He was my roommate at the University of Nairobi, at the School of Law. He was also my classmate. He is my age mate and a long-time friend. We made our debut in Parliament together in the 7th Parliament. We were appointed earlier in our years as magistrates on the same date. Indeed, I do not know whether to call it fate, sheer coincidence, or maybe it's God's plan, but whatever it is, our paths in life have always met, and today they meet again.
On her part, Sholei has promised to follow the Constitution during her tenure as Deputy Speaker.
That I will do to all manner of persons in accordance with this Constitution of Kenya and the laws and conventions of Parliament without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
That's your news at the top of the hour. My name is Stephanie Wangari.
All right, a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're looking at the traffic situation building up in many parts of the city, at least for now. A little bit here and there on the Thika Superhighway coming out towards the Pangani underpass. That's going to build quite some as you're then getting into the CBD. What else are we looking at? Coming off Kiambu Road and this whole mess that then connects somehow the Limuru and then into Westlands, Peponi, all of this, and then coming out towards James Gishuru, which is quite heavy as you're trying to get over that drift, right? Ring Road Westlands also with some traffic this morning as well. The CBD is jam-packed already, and we're looking at traffic coming off Jogo Road, and it continues this Friday morning. We will see some outbound traffic. After all, it is Friday. We'll keep an eye on things and see what happens. Talk to us about where you are this morning on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It's
The
707
only
on
way to
909. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, live from the Standard Group Center in Nairobi to the world on SpiceFM and on YouTube, Facebook, www.spicefm.co.ke. So, the 13th Parliament was inaugurated yesterday. So, today we will be talking to the new members of Parliament. We have one in this hour. We are going to have another one in the second hour. Keep it here for that. Before we welcome our guest today, let's hear the day's proverb. City?
Yes, our proverb yesterday, today, and on Monday, God willing.
Yesterday, today, tomorrow.
Forever.
Never fails.
Okay, right. From Chad.
Mm-hmm.
All truth is good, but not all truth is good to say.
All truth is good, but not all truth is good to say.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Not all the time. I mean, some things can see the truth, but
We know it's true, but you just keep quiet.
Just keep quiet.
Do you know why it is that in a time when some of us were children, in a time when some of you were children, parents would ensure that certain conversations are held when the children are not there. Because the children will hear everything you say and they will go and repeat it verbatim.
They will quote you.
They've heard. After all, you are the authority figure. If the authority says this, it is so. They will repeat it.
Yes.
Teacher, my mommy and daddy said that you, then they proceed to say what you said. Yes.
What? Anyway, members of Parliament were sworn in yesterday. Very many of them. They're very many, my friend. So in about a couple of weeks' time, we shall be paying salaries to very many of them.
Eric, it is us who think we shall be paying the salaries. Those who are elected in this country, and if they nominate, they believe they will be paying it themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They'll also be contributing. It's true. Can't go to an MP. You know my taxes pay your salary. MP will say, I also pay my salary.
If they're polite, they'll tell you to heshimiane.
MPs will not say to heshimiane, they'll say ni heshimu. Ni heshimu. It's one way, my friend. Unajua mimi nani. Do you know who I am?
Yes.
A good thing about what's happening in this 13th Parliament is we have some members who are coming in after serving for very many years. For example, the longest serving member of Parliament in the 13th Parliament is the one, Ednah Kainan. 25 years in Parliament. Since 97.
I thought you were about to say since independence.
Wow.
Since 1997, Ednah Kainan has been elected to Parliament. Let's now look at the others who have served long enough. Samuel Moroto, 21 years. Aden Duale, 15 years. Jane Kihara, 15 years. Shakil Shabir, 15 years. John Badi, 15 years. Then others are in 10-year category. Naisula Lesuda, 10 years. Yep. She first served as a nominated senator, then as an elected MP. We have Oscar Sudi, 10 years, Stuart Madzayo, Fatima Dulo, Kipchumba Murkomen, Samson Cherargei, Aaron Cheruiyot, Moses Kajwang, who have been re-elected. Then some people who were there many years ago, they've come back. Musa Sirma, Julius Sunkuli, Gonzi Rai.
Those are names I can resonate with.
You can resonate with?
Easily.
Yeah? Hey. Those ones.
Some of them we can even compare the dates of birth.
Yes. Hey. In the last 30 years, Gonzi Rai, a member of parliament for Kinango, has lost twice in the Kinango parliamentary race. He first got to parliament in 1992 on a Kanu ticket.
He did. There was no other ticket then, just so that you understand. Okay?
In 92, there were other tickets.
Actually, no. I'm going to explain to you why I'm saying there were no other tickets.
Tell me.
We had ushered in multipartism.
Yes.
But the ghost of Kanu was alive. So, yes, people were getting around to figuring out this thing about multipartism and Ford and what have you. But Kanu held sway. Yes. That's what I mean.
His stuck in Kanu, got re-elected.
Yes.
Now we are seeing people who are also joining parliament for the first time this year. And some have been elected directly, others have been nominated. Our guest this hour is somebody who has been nominated to Senate by the UDA party. Her name is Gloria Orwoba. Mheshimiwa.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana Mheshimiwa.
Yeah.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Asante. This is my first time actually. Yeah, on this show.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know.
So today it's a first time on everything.
Yes.
And we welcome you.
Asante. Thank you.
It's the hot seat. This is where accountability happens. We represent the people. We create laws in here. And we also oversight those that have been elected.
You legislate, oversight, and you represent
everything.
So this is Bunge.
This is it. This is it. Welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your nomination to
Asante
the Senate.
Sana. Asante sana.
You are a member of UDA. Is this your first foray into politics?
Yes, actually. I came back to the country in 2019 to join politics. So this is my
You came back to join politics?
Yes.
Okay, explain.
My mission was actually to come back to Kenya to join politics so that I felt like that is a space that where I can be a change maker.
Where did you come back from and how long were you there?
So I lived in Europe for a while and I had a really good job actually.
What is a while?
I was 3 years in Sweden, about 2 years in Denmark. So yeah.
So you'd been away.
Yeah.
So what made you feel that the thing that you'd like to do next is join Kenyan politics?
So prior to that, I worked in Kenya and I happened to have a couple of projects in Kenya. One that actually made me have interaction with government. And I felt that at that time, the impact that I created with that project and having like a PPP with government, it's something that I put in my head and I was like, I want to do more of that. I want to have more impact in government. So I shelved it and pursued other interests, family and otherwise. And then in 2019, I just felt I need to go back. I need to go back. So I resigned from a job. I had a really nice job. I was managing the Facebook data center in Denmark. So, and I told my family I need to go back and get into politics. And I had tried in 2017, but I came too late. So I learned the lesson that in order for you to get into elective or an appointive seat in government, you have to at least participate in that election, like 3 years before the actual election. So I did my calculation. So I was like, I need to go back home 2019. So I came back. Yeah.
And what did you do after coming back? So you've landed at JKIA. Okay, guys, Gloria is back. Oh, 1, 2, 3 things. Let's meet for lunch. Then
Gloria's come back with an idea.
Yes. She has this
mission.
She's on a mission.
She's on a mission. Now, this mission.
The mission was to vie in Kisii County as a member of parliament. So I came back. And I knew I had to get into the spaces. I didn't know which political party I was going to join, which affiliation. I just first wanted to be in the spaces of politics, like interact with those people. So I came back and the first thing was find somebody who's in politics, talk to them, try and have them, welcome you into their space. Yeah. So actually, my first meeting was with a friend of my sister, who was the youth secretary for the office of the deputy president. So I went to see him, and I was like, I can volunteer. Just I have skills. Use me.
Yeah.
That meeting didn't go too well because I technically had no CV. So he was like, you have no CV in politics. You haven't done much. So you go do something, then you come back. Actually, the one thing they said is you're not even on TV. If I Google you, nothing comes up.
Right.
So then the first assignment, I said, so people need to be on TV. Yeah, so I
You need to be a public figure.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, let me try and get on TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Essentially, people needed to know you.
Yeah.
People needed to have seen you.
Absolutely.
They didn't ask you to build a school, build a hospital.
Well, when I started the campaigns, it was like, so what have you done for the people of Bobasi constituency? Ndio tukupatie kura. So luckily, my background also, I've been in the community CBO space, the NGO space. So it's natural. I was like, actually, this makes sense. So I looked and I saw that we still have a big problem in Bobasi constituency. School is free. Infrastructure is there. CDF has changed mabatis and built schools. But now the communities, the children are hungry. So I had previously participated in a nutrition program in the past. So I thought, let me start a nutrition program. So that was my way of entering now, of showing the community that, if given the chance to manage CDF, I can do something with it.
Okay.
So I had a nutrition program. That was a sort of like, actually, you need to show people what you can do with CDF. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you knew? I mean, I'm just going back to even before you came back to Kenya. What are some of the things that you wanted to see having been done that would then fuel, the action for you? What are some of the things you said, okay, whether it is in my county where I'm from or looking at the nation at large, what are some of those things?
You see, one of the things that inspired me to actually be in government somehow was that I used to produce musical theatre shows back in 2010. And I was in that space. And I used to work with an international organization from the Netherlands. So I convinced them to come back to Kenya and produce a Kenyan. They were just focusing on South African shows and stuff like that. So I convinced them to come back to Kenya and produce a Kenyan musical theatre show. And when I had that project, I thought, we have musical theatre, but what can we do with it? Yeah. We can market Destination Kenya. So I remember going to Najib Balala's office and telling him the idea that we don't always need to just put ads on CNN, with our flag and some Maasai guy jumping.
And a lion yawning.
Yeah, so I when you did the math, these theatre shows, we would take them during the winter to Europe. And the guys who actually go to watch theatre shows in Europe are rich because one ticket is like between 15 euros to 75 euros, depending on the seat. So these are guys who could easily, if they walk out of the theatre or even in the break in between, because it's a 90-minute show, they could easily purchase a safari just at the entrance. Like, oh, this is nice, 3,000, wacha tu nilipe, then I'll come in December. So I convinced him that, the audience that we're reaching out is huge because it's a 3-month activity with a show every day except Monday. So about 200 shows. And I was like, you can reach these guys directly. And if we actually partner it with a couple of tours and travel agents, we could, increase the traffic. And my thing was when we did it, because we ended up partnering and the Ministry of Tourism through Kenya Tourism Board sponsored the musical theatre show. It was called Out of Africa, The Magic of Kenya.
Right.
And when I saw that impact, I was like, I need to bring more of these ideas to government. So when I came back and I knew that I wanted to go vie for this seat, one of the things that I wanted to showcase, and I was so clear in my mind, is that CDF just doesn't need to be brick and mortar. So I wanted to show the electorate that funds are available. The issue is that we have leaders who don't want to think outside the box. They don't want to work. Because when you create a project, then you have to make sure you see it to fruition, and some of the projects require a lot of logistics, and people just want to buy mabatis and change, and they just want to paint schools and then go open with a ribbon. So one of the things that I wanted to see is that from the moment you enter that space, there's an immediate impact to the electorate. Like mtu atasema, at least leo sijalala njaa.
Yes.
Just think outside the box. So it was more of the kids for me. It was because those are the change makers. It's the younger generation that's actually going to pick up something and turn this thing around. So I wanted to see more of impactful ideas, and a direct impact, not huge investments, and the return on investment is like your grandchild is probably the one who's going to feel it. So it was more those projects that are low-hanging fruits that you can just go in and, the kids are now having porridge in school. Right. Why can't that be financed under CDF so that we can ensure that kids are actually going to school? Because we have the infrastructure there already. But no one is asking themselves why school is free technically. But the schools in Bobasi constituency, they are empty. Yeah.
Kids are not going to school.
Kids are not going to school.
They have to go and eke out a living so they can have a meal.
Let me ask you this question. You worked in Denmark. You worked in Sweden as well?
No, I worked in Denmark. In Sweden, I was running my own organization.
Good. Yeah. But you live there?
Yes.
Now, when you live in Europe and you look at the way they organize and run their education system, these feeding programs that somebody has to figure out, okay? For it to be sustainable, in the event that you, who was pioneering this, was not there, what did you do so that the community understands the need for them to actually get involved in this process? Because I am certain the area you come from, people farm. I am certain that there are things that you can find locally. And these very same things can be used to actually feed these school children.
So first it was difficult because, when you've been in a state of, let me say, a bad relationship, when someone does something normal,
it looks abnormal.
It looks abnormal. Even to convince my own team, guys, this is what I want to do. I want to take porridge and bread to school. They were like, "Aye, this is a lot of work." So even my team, I had to convince them, no, we are going to do it. And I can tell you, the first 2 weeks was so hard because no one understood. They were like, "Okay, so what do you need?" I said, "I need, 2 workers in the school because one will be in the kitchen ensuring that happens. The other one will be for accountability, so photos and videos. And then, even just structuring it. Yeah. And then I said, we must buy the flour from the local market. So I need that to be organized. Either let's put it with the headmaster or we put it with a teacher who's interested in that. And then, so what about bread? That was the biggest challenge because there are only 2 operators in Nyanza. Yes. So I was like, we need bread. Bread is the incentive because, porridge is a thing, but we need to get them excited about the thing.
Mkate is the thing that
was
the kids.
It was the currency. So getting now the supplier was like, oh yeah, of course we can supply, I don't know how many thousands of packets per day, but hatuwezi kufikisha kwa shule. So now I had to engage boda guys. So, the logistics behind it forced me to engage a whole community because it's like end to end. And, but, I think you have to really have the vision and execute it for the electorate to, because after now, the first term, the trade-in was that they had to have my sign.
Right.
So I built a sign and I put it at the entrance, and it was nutrition program sponsored by Gloria Orwoba, and that was the only trade-in that they had to do, just protect the sign.
Okay.
And
how about their participation, like City is asking, in terms of all this contribution?
Their participation was actually the program could not work without the school administration, without the chief, without the board of
management.
Yeah, the board of management, because you had to get all those approvals, and then the community, because there are 2 communities that actually refused because there was a rumor that was introduced that it's like Illuminati porridge and what. So you also had to go and talk to the community and explain to them, I'm bringing this nutrition program because I am trying to make sure that kids go to school and stay in school. And because I know most of the kids only have one meal and they have to walk back home to have that one meal. So I actually had to talk to the parents as well. So, and eventually after the first term, people sort of started getting the hang of what it was. And now my message from there was, CDF doesn't only have to build roads and put mabatis. CDF can also do this. And you know, the electorate could not believe it. They were like, tunaweza kuuliza MP wetu alete uji shule. I'm like, yeah, because it's under education and it's catered for. He just needs to find a way to convince the CDF that, you know, this is part of education.
Yeah.
And it's and showcase the impact and the sustainability of the, and it's work. It's a lot of work because it's never been done before. So it's easier for them to just say, let's change mabatis and let's, you know, paint the school.
It's a one-off.
It's a one-off. There's no logistics around it. But, you know, with the porridge, it has a lot of logistics, but it also created a lot of employment.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can also see, as you're doing all these things, you have an agenda. Your agenda is that I want my people to know that I am available and they should elect me as the next Mombasa MP.
Of course, yeah.
So I can imagine that you do not engage at any point with the CDF committee to tell them, guys, here's an idea. How about you implement it?
No, absolutely not. Okay. Because the aim at that point was showcase. It's like a pilot. Showcase what else CDF can do. And then from there, hope to get elected. Because you see, you know, if you're not elected, unaenda kuongelesha CDF forward, you know. I mean, what are you going to tell them? Okay, you're an electorate. They'll send you to your representative. Go and talk to the board of your representative, the chair of your CDF committee or a committee member. They send you back there. So the aim was showcase to the electorate. If the electorate understands that, kumbe, we have been getting a road deal all these years, let's try this person with these ideas, then they give you the vote. When they give you the vote, then now you go to CDF, present your case and tell, you know, this is, it's actually falls squarely under education. And, you know, therefore it should be considered and it should be approved. And that was the plan. So although at the part of getting elected, I failed there.
How? How did you fail exactly?
Well, I mean, there is no almost winner or number two in politics. You just have to get elected.
Actually, no.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Actually, no. There are people who at the first stab get elected. Very few get elected and stay elected. Our soon-to-be president is one such person. Got elected, stayed.
Stayed elected.
There are a few others. I don't care none. Stayed. Most people, if you read the story the number of times they try before they actually get it, you will be shocked.
Yeah, there's that. So there is that. But
let me ask you.
Yes.
Right now, as you sit here thinking, wouldn't you say, how many times have you lost, by the way?
This was my first time losing.
Okay.
This was my first time in politics, and this was my first time losing. I actually lost at the party primaries. I didn't get the ticket.
And you got shocked, weren't you?
No. Yes, I got shocked.
You got disappointed.
No, I got shocked because I got 5,000 votes. That was a lot of votes for primaries. So I was like, because everybody kept on telling me, utarudi na kura 200, wacha tutakufundisha kura 50. Because also in Kisii County, I was the first woman to vie for a member of parliament seats ever in history.
Yes, I was going to ask that question. I'm glad you've answered if I could ask.
So I was shocked at my performance because I did well. And the winner actually for the primaries won with about 1,000 votes. Which was funny because in the general election, he came back with 1,000 votes. He got 7,000 in the party primaries, but he came back with 1,000 votes. I kept on saying something is off.
But so it's your opponents who sponsored his votes.
Well, I don't want to go on record.
We'll go on record for you.
We can see the game.
So, I mean, I got shocked with my results because I also did not anticipate to get that many votes. But then when I was looking at the calculations, by that time, I had about maybe 20 schools. And the population in those schools was over 8,000. So if you calculate 8,000 is just the child. So if you calculate even just one parent per child voting for you, I mean, I should have performed if that program was to translate into votes. Yeah, so I was shocked, but when I did the calculations, I was like, actually, I should, for 5,000, that's because, again, turnout during primaries is normally not that high. Yeah.
You know, where I was going with my questions is, you see, when you started this journey, you understood politics to be one thing. When you lost, didn't you have an aha moment? Oh, goodness. You mean this is it?
Let me tell you something. Like, my first attempt at so many things, I barely ever lose. And I always ace it. I put in 100% and I come out like a winner. When I lost, it was very humbling. And it was Easter. I switched off my phone and slept for 4 days. Oh, yeah. I was so sad. I was so annoyed at the world. I was so annoyed at the electorate.
At the people.
Yeah.
Why didn't you vote for me?
So annoyed. I was like, you people. It's not even that. It's like, you can't see the things I'm trying to bring here. What's wrong with you people? So I was just mad. And it took me, but you must lose an election in politics for you to know.
Very useful.
For you to just understand a lot of dynamics, because the thing is, it's not the losing, it's what do you do after the losing, because a lot of people lose. Like, I can tell you, we were 4. One of the guys who, by the way, I was supposed to be negotiated out, so he got the ticket, and he performed very poorly. He was last. He lost, and the next time I saw him was in Karen, like 3 days ago. Like, he just
disappeared.
Like, we're like, what happened to that guy? He just disappeared. So the important thing about losing is, what do you do next? Because
but you see,
what lessons do you take?
Why I was insisting you didn't lose. See, the thing that you must understand, look at this thing in totality. First woman ever to do what you're doing. 20 schools. 2 schools, I would have been impressed. 3, I would have been flabbergasted. 20.
Yes.
I'm blown away.
Yes.
The community clearly saw something they had never seen before. Clearly.
It did. That project really sold.
But you also caught the attention of other people.
Yes.
Now,
you know, in hindsight,
yes.
I you know how when you plan and I'm like, I'm going to go back to Kenya, I'm going to vie for Member of Parliament, and I'm going to do ABCD. By the way, I had a plan. I just didn't know how I'm going to get into the space, but the plan was there. So it was being executed. And then when I lost, it was like, this was not part of the plan. I didn't have a plan.
There was no loss.
There was no loss anywhere. And there was no, like, if I lose, what will I do?
Yes.
So that was my issue, because I was like, I didn't plan for this.
It was plan A all the way.
What normally happens when you lose? So luckily, throughout the process, I used to call these veteran politicians and tell them, Kai, what do people do now? What happens and whatever. So when I lost, first it was very depressing. And I was ranting, and I was really ranting like for 4 days. I was ranting to my party leader and ranting to anyone. I was really like just my SMS thing. I used to write messages and switch off my phone. Then write more messages and switch off my phone.
What you just described, it's called therapy.
This was my ticket. This guy is not even part of our, oh my gosh. Then I switch off, I sleep, then I write and
you wake up and check whether they've responded.
When I switch on, no one has responded. I go back to ranting.
Let's take a break.
So eventually, that's where the breakthrough came in, and at least someone came through and said, come, let's talk.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even ranting helps. 26 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We are speaking to Senator Gloria Orwoba, newly nominated, newly sworn in senator under the UDA ticket. Newly minted. Fresh. And she is not here just by accident. She's here because she had a plan. And she says, I came back to the country after working abroad for a number of years. And the plan was to get into Kenyan politics and serve. And here she is, first-time senator. We want to hear what she has in store for us. 25 to 8. Remember, on the 25th of September, it's going to be a Sunday. Yes. And all roads lead to, that whole cliche line, all roads lead to the Nairobi race course for the African Concours d'Elegance. It's the 50th edition of the Concours d'Elegance. What's happening?
People are going to come out in large hats, even CT. It's going to be
It'll be
great.
in his large car.
Oh, I'm sorry. Large car others with large hats coming to watch what it is that's going to happen. Right. So the 50th edition of the Concours d'Elegance will take place at the Nairobi Racecourse on the 25th of September. Come out and see vintage vehicles, classic cars, have an absolute great afternoon of fun. There will be a children's area where you can keep them busy while you walk about and have great entertainment seeing all the elements of concours.
There's some people who will be there with those old, nice, big bikes. They're already growing the beard. So when you've seen the movies.
Yeah, the one you can braid.
Those biker gangs. Yeah. The guy has already a long mustache.
Eric, why are you talking about big bikes and mustaches and beards and looking at me?
No, yours is the car. Yours is the vintage car. It transported Elizabeth from Nairobi to Treetops. When she came.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma number them Kweli is because all records will be there. There are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. He shouldn't be doing it and should be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, so still looking at partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll go to highs of 20 and lows of 13. It's cloudy at 14 in Nakuru, highs of 25 and lows of 14. And it's 13 and cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 19. 23 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Eldoret, currently at 12. It's raining in Mombasa at 22, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 29 in rainy Malindi at 25. 19 and partly sunny in Kisumu, highs of 28 and highs of 27, where it's partly sunny in Kakamega. We're looking at partly sunny conditions at 20 in Kampala, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 29 in Dar es Salaam, where it's mostly sunny at 21. Warmer and warmer in Joburg at 17 degrees. We'll see highs of 27. Mostly clear conditions at 24 in Lagos with highs of 30. 30 will also be the high in a mostly clear Kinshasa at 22. All right, busier and busier on the Thika Superhighway this morning. Coming into that Pangani underpass, quite busy, as well as Kiambu Road. We're looking at that whole mess. It's been crazy this whole week, and who they be not to end Friday in the same way. James Gishuru is pretty busy as he's coming off that drift. The whole of Lavington, looking at Gitanga Road, Naivasha Road, then joining with Gong Road, Gitanga Road. Absolutely crazy this morning, and it looks like we'll be in traffic hour for some time. Let us know where you're going, how you are moving, and if you find an escape route, talk to us. SpiceFM, KE, Twitter.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It is 20 minutes to 8. The conversation continues with Senator Gloria Orwoba, nominated by the UDA into the Senate. And you're telling us about your journey and how you get there and then the plans that you have. So your plan is basically to serve in a leadership position, in a representative position. And now here you are. But how did you then, after the performance at the party primaries, how did you get your name onto the list of the nominees? You are number 4 on the list?
Yes.
Number
I was
4
nominee number 4.
on the UDA list.
Yes.
That's a high.
But actually, can we just move a few steps? How do you even get your name on the list?
How do you get your name on the
How
list?
do you get
number
there?
4, 5. Well, it doesn't matter the
There's
number.
no actual formula. But first of all, thank God that there was new legislation that organized that nomination. Because before that, it was always being used like, nitakupatia till last minute, then I don't give you nitakupatia. So they organized it and they put in like steps to a point that you can't change the list once it's been submitted to IBC.
Yep.
Because before that, by the way, you could be nominated until the very last day of gazettement and then you're not nominated. So now the process made it clear that parties had to submit, then IBC takes it back, then you give it to the... So to get on the list, there's no formula. 2 things though. Loyalty is one. Yeah. Loyalty pays, by the way, in
To
politics.
the party. Or to
Loyalty
the
to the
individual
party, to the movement, to the cause. It pays. There are people that have been in this game way longer than I have, and they keep wondering, like, how did you come here? And then 2 years and 3 years, and then, you've come this far. One thing I've understood, loyalty pays. And luckily, I'm actually, within even my own principle, personal, I'm usually like, there's no gray areas. I'm with you or I'm not with you. So that was not hard for me to decide. Once I decided I'm with this side of the political divide, I got castigated. There are times when, especially after doing the TV shows, people will call you a sycophant, room 350, all those things. But loyalty pays. So I would say loyalty is one formula. And then it's your contribution to the cause, to the party, to the movement, and your contribution in terms of, are you pushing the agenda? For instance, when we started the Hustler Nation movement, people didn't really know what it was about. And then when we translated into the bottom-up economic model, people didn't know. There's a time in between we had BBI, and our side of the political divide was against it. And you have to understand why were we against it and whatever, and then now push out the message to the electorate, so that, because it's really about convincing the numbers and trying to have them with you. And I played a big role in that, like the advocacy and stuff like that. But also as a woman, it's you just need to show your value. You have to bring something to the table.
Why as a woman?
Because it's easy to overlook. Some men are just there. Let me just be very honest with you.
Please.
There's some men who've just been in politics. They're just figureheads, Like, they probably vied once, kitambo, and then, they were appointed somewhere. And then because you have a name, the way you have a name, and then you just show up in the room and everyone just imagines you've brought something. But really, you're just a figurehead. And if you come down to what have you contributed, we can't substantiate it. So as a woman, you can't compete with that. Because even with your name and with everything, people will still be like, na unafanyia nini chama? More is expected of you. So once you understand that, when you're in politics, you'll always we'll enter a room, it's a brainstorming session, and you'll find me saying, okay, I'm going to take the notes, I'm already what else am I going to contribute?
To add value.
Yeah. So it's like, let me do the notes, let me do this, and I'll always be like, what else can I bring to this table? I know that I'm a contributor equal to these other people, but what else can put me, one step ahead? And guys would not want to put in so much work. So you end up being the one doing the late nights, you just end up doing more.
Do you find that unfair?
It's unfair, but that's how it is.
No. Actually, no. It isn't.
That's how it is.
It isn't unfair.
It is unfair.
No, it isn't.
Why?
You're paying your dues. You see, what you end up doing, you become indispensable.
That is true. That is true.
So in terms of a strategy, it's a perfect... So people...
but where is she? Where is Gloria?
Yeah, precisely. How come this hasn't been done? Gloria hasn't come.
That is actually true. But the same should be expected.
Even of the men.
For the men. Some men, because of their names, I'm telling you this.
They will not lift a finger to do anything.
They're indispensable. Even if there's nothing you're missing.
This meeting can't start because it is not here.
Gloria, when the meeting actually takes place.
Gloria.
That I saw a lot in
presence
politics.
This presence that you see is not a standalone issue. These people keep getting appointed because they have associations. They are people they've done God knows what with. Okay? So, it's a club.
It's a boys' club.
Yes, that's what I was getting to.
But,
So,
you know, the good thing about noticing it, I usually try not to be the complainant, but I realize in politics, just make noise. Make a lot of noise. So at the end of the day,
get yourself noticed.
Make noise even about the issues that no one is making noise about. Because at the end of the day, I realize when you point it out, particularly in our spaces, and this is what I and without wanting to sound like a sycophant, what I quickly appreciated about William Ruto was, I think, because he's gone through the same journey, it's one of those things where you say, like, how come ABCD nini nini? And then he'll be like, yeah, that is true. By the way, Eric has not contributed nini nini. And he'll acknowledge and he'll make sure that it never happens. It becomes like, going forward, we are going to do ABCD. So the feedback is actually appreciated. And once I realized the feedback is noted, appreciated, and thought into.
You always had feedback.
I always had feedback. I'm like, I have feedback.
Let me ask this, because you've actually brought in that word. So first you said how you get yourself onto the nomination lists is you've got to prove your loyalty. And then you've also used the word sycophancy. So how do you differentiate between loyalty and sycophancy?
You know, loyalty means that despite the fact that it's difficult to be in that position, you stay the course. You don't need to be a sycophant, but you stay the course. There were times when guys were like, you can't come and tell us that the deputy president is not part of this government. He's the deputy president. So, you can't come and say that, and that can't be an argument. And then it's a very uncomfortable position to be in, because that's a fact, yeah? And so now you have to figure out how to convince these people that, yes, he is on paper the deputy president, but really he is not. And sometimes you look very stupid, but then you stay the course. Because if you find yourself now being on the gray area, and that's now the disloyalty and there's no sycophancy there. Now sycophancy is more like, I don't want to argue with facts, I don't want to be criticized. People criticize, for instance, I criticized BBI, and part of my criticism formed William Ruto's criticism. And after that, when they switched course and it looked like we just want them to change a couple of things, then maybe we will agree with it. I still was like, no, because nothing has changed with the youth. So you guys can agree with it even if they change ABCD or Bunzman and what. But me, I still feel like the youth are not actually taken care of. So it's like a thin line.
It's important to understand the meaning of terms. What you've described yourself as, that's not sycophancy. A sycophant is somebody who just obsequiously, without breaks, just keeps following and doesn't reason. Anafuata tu ni huyu ni hii.
I'm tempted to say like
in order to get favor.
In order to get favor.
It's not empty. There's something they're gunning for. In the days of the single party system, we saw it. To the point where you actually wonder, I knew this person before they got into politics. Who is this person I'm now seeing? Yes, that one thing.
Although with the public, they don't see the behind the scenes arguments. So they only see you defending the cause. So at the end of the day, they're like, you used to have a brain before you joined these Tanga people.
Now you don't have a brain. Yes to everything.
Oh, uliwacha brain yako Weston, nini. So, but they don't realize by the time you're coming to defend the cause, you have had your arguments behind the scenes, and you've even given your contribution and said, I actually feel, and then you
got convinced.
Then you got convinced, or and then you come and defend the cause.
But Gloria, what I've always found fascinating, I'm not a social media person really, but the few times I foray and I enter, I am shocked at the conversation. I'm blown away by the conversation. I'm saying, you mean this is what people are discussing here? No, it's like somebody just, so long as the thing hits their brain, no filtering system, it's unleashed. Whap! No.
But isn't that so? I think that's the beauty of social media.
Beauty?
Yes.
That's the danger of social media.
You think so?
Oh, it's the danger of social media.
Let me tell you why it's the beauty. Because sometimes I go to my page and I read things, and then I get to understand a different perception, a different perspective. So then it opens my mind. Like you could be coming and throwing it in a negative way, but for me, I'm like, by the way, I need to think about that angle. And then it makes me like either harness my agenda or whatever.
It could be presented. It could be presented in a harsh way, or in a wrong way, but there's a message.
You just need to know that first of all, those people don't exist. I always tell myself, those comments, those are not people, because those people, when you meet them, it's different. So I always tell myself, all the comments, these are bots, all of them. But all you need to do is get the message and don't personalize it. Don't be like, Omondi nani amenitukana. Just get the message.
But really, when someone expresses a view, even if it's a spur of the moment, how do I divorce that from you, the person? Because yes, I've understood a thought process, I've understood a fear, I've understood a perspective, I've understood the way someone thinks. For me, it's a reality. Now, I may not agree with it, I may not necessarily react to it, but my shock and awe is the abundance of it on both sides of the. And you wonder, whoa. But the good thing is, it's out. For me, what I've seen, my conclusion is this is a forum for venting.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's good therapy. And while they vent, those ideas actually come home. I appreciate social media so much because people can hide behind the keyboards. And sometimes that's what people need in order for them to express themselves, to tell you the truth. Yeah. And if those people were sitting in this boardroom, everyone would be like,
some of them would not be able to speak.
Nothing. So I actually appreciate it. In fact, when people come and abuse me and tell me all those things, I'm like, take it, because also it humbles you. You know, you could be walking around town here thinking, when someone needs to tell you are really stupid. Then you calm down.
Calm down. It's interesting that you say that, because now here you are in a nominated senator position, and the goal that you initially had was to be a member of parliament where you're from. So now here you are as a nominated senator. Does the goal shift?
You know, for me, it doesn't shift. But the weird thing is that everybody who's spoken to me since the list came out prior to us being sworn in, like, now, you know, where's the Rudi Kiti ya MP? Just sasa wewe ni senator. And in my head, I'm like, I really just want to go back and vie for Bobasi constituency as a member of parliament. But, you know, one thing I've learned in politics, you listen to guys who've been in it. Take their advice. So if someone comes and tells you, by the way, wachana na ikiti, chukua ikiti, don't dismiss it. There's a reason behind it, and I've also appreciated that I'm an amateur in this game. I keep telling everyone, by the way, I'm an amateur politician. Kunendanga aje hapa, watu wanafanya nini? Then they, you know, because you could be, and I say this with respect, you could be a Martha Karua and missing out on opportunities because you just don't want to listen.
Now,
on
that point that you've just made, you campaigned, I could use the adjective heavily, for Kenya Kwanza. What made you do that? That's part one. And then part two is, now that that government is in place, is it really the words that were spoken on the campaign trail that then will be entrenched in practice in this government moving forward?
So why did I campaign for Kenya Kwanza heavily? Really, it's just because of William Ruto. And that sounds very, I don't know, maybe psycho fancy kind of. But I'll tell you.
I haven't dissuaded you from using that.
Let me tell you, you join a movement, a cult, a religion because of something or someone.
Yeah.
You know, you find yourself in a space, something inspires you so badly, and you're like, me, I'm just going to be a Christian. And then you give your life to Jesus, right? Because of someone or something. For me, it was someone. Because when I was trying to get into this political space, I knocked on many doors. And the feeling that I got in these other doors was, you're too young. Please do your time, Kwanza. Enda ungangane uko na MCA or whatever. Like, no one had time for me, you know.
And you don't even know the ground.
They don't even want to know the background of who you are. It was dismissive. I was dismissed by many of these other people. Like, I was really dismissed. I had a conversation with the daughter of one of these people, and we were friends. And I was like, listen, I know I can do this, blah, 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 nikajuza. And they were like, yeah. When Goja, you know, you need like 10 more years. Themselves, they were dismissive.
Wow.
And then when I finally got in front of William Ruto, which was a funny story because I did a TV show, then I was called. Like I was like, just ranting about Europeans and how we shouldn't treat them special here.
What you were doing, wasn't ranting, you were opining.
I was, yeah. And
ranting
it was about...
tends to be incoherent.
It was about, remember the Chester scandal? And everyone was talking about, and I was like, you people, Kenyans are getting conned. Why are you focused? Because I ni wazungu. So because I had just come from Europe, so mine was like, can we be serious? Why are we giving these people special attention? Because I had come from a place where I was really mistreated being as a foreigner.
Minority.
And then I raised a very pertinent question. I said, before we talk about who was conned, were these people in the country legally? They say they were doing business. Which kind of permits did they have? And then the front newspaper was all about the work permits they didn't have, blah, blah, blah. And that got me in front of William Ruto. And then when I got my chance and I was like, I want to do this, and it was the first person who didn't dismiss me. Like in politics, really.
So what did he say?
He was like,
First of all, he listened.
He listened? That was for sure he listened.
So it was a one-on-one?
It was a one-on-one. I had a one-on-one.
You and William Ruto?
Yes.
All right.
And he just wanted to know who's this person because I didn't know, but I was talking the bottom-up language, 2019.
Without calling it bottom-up.
I didn't know about bottom-up.
Right.
I was just doing my thing. So I expressed myself, and then he said, good, you have a very bright future ahead of you. He asked me on my plans, said I'm going to vie. And then he tried to advise me without dismissing me. But like in hindsight, he was trying to tell me, hey, Kisii County. Hey, my friend Utanguka. But then he didn't tell me that. So it was like, no, just keep at it. As a father figure, I have to advise you. I'm not saying you stop with your campaign. Keep with your campaign. Let's have another conversation later on. But when I think about it, then he was trying to tell me, please, wachana na hiyo kitu. But in a nice, so he was not dismissive. Then for me, I felt I found a home. Now, from there, when you believe in someone, it's so easy for them to...
Completely.
To now, it's called brainwash you.
Yes.
Condition you completely.
So, that's a starting point. And for me, it was like, I was not dismissed. I was in the youth bracket.
You felt appreciated.
I was a woman. I felt appreciated. So that was the starting point. And then, now from there, I noticed any other meeting that I happened to be in and in his presence, I would make a contribution equally to veteran politicians.
Would he remember you by name or would you call you my friend?
When we had the PG,
so
the first PG.
My friend from Mombasa.
No. When we had the first PG 2 weeks ago, is it in Karen? Ruto introduced everyone by name. Everyone. He said, okay, sasa tuanze na wajumbe wa 001. They stand. Then he says, yes. This is so-and-so from this constituency. Is the one who was introducing them to everyone else. Until 047. The only people he had a challenge with were the deputy governors. Why? His interaction with deputy governors is minimal. Because you interact with the candidate.
Don't apologize.
Yeah.
No one knows deputy governors.
Some governors don't.
In 30 seconds.
So he knew he calls you by name.
So he remembers you.
He has a very good memory.
Of Ndu's question.
So the second part of your question was...
are we sure that the things that were said on the campaign trail now will be entrenched now that everybody is in?
I was one of the few women that drafted the Women's Charter. And I can tell you, we're already delivering the 50% cabinet as the first thing. And you will start seeing, and forget even that, the promises that he signed between the alliances like ANC, Ford Kenya. Wetangula is now a speaker. King is a speaker. He's delivering exactly the things that he promised already.
For the people of Kenya.
For the people of Kenya.
His lieutenant.
You see, even those negotiations with those parties were people of Kenya.
Of the people.
For the behalf of the people of Kenya. And he's already, for the Women Charter, I can tell you, I'm on the forefront ensuring that every single thing that we put there is going to be, executed.
Gloria, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
This is the first of many visits that you'll have onto this show. Karibu sana again and again, and we wish you all the best as you begin this journey as a senator.
Asante sana.
The Republic of Kenya.
Thank you.
Gloria Orwoba is a nominated senator. She has been here with us telling us about her journey and how she got here. Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, Okiya Omtatah, Senator for Busia County.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I am Stephanie Wangari. The EFL has announced Friday fixtures Burnley vs Norwich and Tranmere vs Stockport have been postponed as a mark of respect for Queen Elizabeth II, who died aged 96. A decision on the weekend's games will be made on Friday morning following a discussion with the Department for Culture, Media and Sport. Now, a military farewell ceremony for outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta will take place at Ulinzi Sports Complex this morning. It will be followed by a symbolic escort out of the defense headquarters as the Kenya Defense Forces bid goodbye to their commander-in-chief for the last 10 years. The two-part event will be the second last of President Kenyatta's constitutional mandates as his term draws to an end next week, Tuesday. The outgoing president will inspect his final guard of honor mounted by soldiers in their ceremonial red tunics. Now, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka says he pulled out of the Senate Speaker race after learning that it would be marred with malpractices. Speaking to the Standard, Kalonzo said the decision was made after a late-night Wednesday meeting with senators allied to the Azimio la Umoja coalition. He added that the decision was ratified by President Uhuru Kenyatta and Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga a day before the elections held at the Senate chambers yesterday. He further dispelled reports that it was a last-minute decision for fear of being flawed by Kenya Kwanza's Amason Kingi. Nick Mwendwa has made a comeback as the president of the Football Kenya Federation. This comes months after he was kicked out of office following a directive by Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed, who ordered investigations into the federation finances. But in a letter yesterday, Mwenda informed FIFA President Gianni Infantino that he had assumed his role as the head of Kenya's football body. Defending his decision to assume power, Mwendwa explained that the office of the Director of Criminal Investigation had withdrawn charges leveled against him. The Kenya Kwanza coalition scooped the Speaker and Deputy Speaker positions in both the Senate and the National Assembly. In Senate, former Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi will be the new Speaker, deputized by Murungi Kathure, the Senator for Meru.
I shall respect and uphold the rule of law, legality, and nurture the culture of constitutionalism. And I shall protect, defend the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya and always safeguard the mandate and role of the Senate.
Moses Wetangula will be the new Speaker in the National Assembly, deputized by Uasin Gishu, Woman Representative Gladys Boss-Sholai. In his speech, Wetangula promised to serve members of Parliament diligently.
I undertake to prioritize two key issues. These are enhancing public trust in this House and the institution of Parliament, and nurturing and upholding committee between our two houses and between the National Assembly and other arms of government, with particular attention to our judiciary, which has often appealed for reasonable consideration by the legislature.
Wetangula acknowledged that there was an increase of women leadership in the 13th Parliament compared to the ones before.
The National Assembly of the 11th Parliament had 68 female members. That number increased to 76 in the last Parliament. Today, this 13th Parliament has seen the number rise to 82, with 29 women having been elected to represent single-member constituencies. This increase is a significant step towards achieving the aspiration of the gender parity in representation as desired by our 2010 Constitution.
On her part, Boss-Sholai has promised to follow the Constitution during her tenure as Deputy Speaker.
That I will do to all manner of persons in accordance with this Constitution of Kenya and the laws and conventions of Parliament without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
That's your news at the top of the hour. My name is Stephanie Wangari.
102.5 Spice FM.
All right, let's take a look at traffic in different parts of the city this morning. We're seeing it still pretty heavy on the Thika Superhighway. We're also seeing outbound traffic, which is doing its thing today. We looked at the western part of the city, and there's some traffic that had built up quite considerably, and we're still seeing traffic, Ring Road Westlands, coming off of Lavington, Zima Springs, Arwings Kodek, absolutely jam-packed. We're looking at Kingara Road, which joins from Naivasha Road, Gong Road, absolutely busy. And we're looking at traffic coming off Peponi down through to Parklands Road, Limuru Road, Kiambu Road, and then on the Thika Superhighway, in and outbound traffic is quite heavy this morning. It looks like it's going to be around for some time. Friday is a busy morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's know what's going on where you are and try as much as possible to keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching
It is
up,
7 minutes after
not
8.
down.
Good morning, and how are you
This-
doing? Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room on Spice FM, on YouTube, on Facebook, on our website, and on KTN Home for the next 1 hour. We are talking to newly elected and nominated, newly inaugurated members of parliament today. We just had a conversation with nominated Senator Gloria Orwoba. The next hour, we are going to have a conversation with elected Senator Okiya Omtatah from Busia County. Before we welcome him to the show, let him hear the day's proverb from CT.
Actually, the proverb is from Chad.
By
It
CT.
is going to be mentioned by CT Muga.
Okay.
All truth is good, but not all truth is good to say.
All truth is good.
Very good.
But not all truth
It's good
is
to
good
say.
to say.
Mhm. I dare say that it is good to say it, but it's also good to understand how to say it. Yes.
How you package it is important.
Oh, it's very, very crucial.
It's called a bitter truth.
Oh, the sweet truth.
Some truth is bitter, some truth is sweet.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Charles. From this day on,
It will be Charles.
CT drops his Charles. The second and a half. Our guest is Busia Senator Okiya Omtatah. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning to you, my brother.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Welcome to the hot seat. Like we told the previous senator who was here, this is the show that does the RL. It's called what?
And O.
And O. Yes. We do represent the people. We oversight elected leaders. And we also come up with our own laws here.
You don't appropriate.
That's the only thing that we don't do. We don't appropriate.
No, we don't.
Okay.
But we come up with ideas of where the money should go. So welcome to the show. Congratulations on your election as a senator for Busia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Second time trying it and winning it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Your party is the National Reconstruction Alliance.
Yes.
There are many people who have not heard of this party. So please
Well,
give
it's
us
a party
the
of the
background.
future.
Give us the background of this party, National Reconstruction Alliance. When people hear NRA, they think, oh my God, it's Uganda.
National Reconstruction Alliance is a party whose membership is largely the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Even its officials are students. And we came to the point of forming that party when we saw what was happening in the political circles last time, whereby there was hardly any principle, people were making marriages of convenience that were largely tailored at very, very short-term interests. There was no consideration of values and the kind of things that have been lacking in this country being leadership. Not just occupation of offices, but leadership. So we sat down with like-minded people and mainly young people, and we said, let us plant the mustard seed. Let us start a new party. And because it was late in the day, we were not able to get very many candidates, but we managed to get a few candidates here and there, including myself. And so we went into the field, and we've got quite a number of MCAs. We don't have any MP in the National Assembly, but we have an MP in the Senate, which is occupied by myself. So that's basically the short story of the party. But it's a party of the future because we want to work between now and 2027 to build that party. And in 2027, we want to be able to influence national politics in a way that is progressive. We'll be totally Republican. And by Republican, I don't mean the Republican Party of the U.S. By Republican, I mean the ideology of republicanism, whereby the state is run strictly on the law. No public office is there for the benefit of the individual occupying it, and all are equal under the law and submit to the law. So the rule of law being the main thing we have, public office being there to serve the needs of society, not necessarily to serve individuals, and office holders being servants of the people, having what we call the two legs of a free society, which is an independent judiciary and an independent media. Those are the two legs of a free society. For it's only where you can have a fair trial and where you can be heard. And you cannot have a fair trial if you cannot be heard. Freedom of speech. It's only when you have got freedom of speech and the right to be heard when you have an issue, that you get a free society. So we are very, very particular about that, and we want to give it a try and see if the Kenyans will buy into it.
We'll see that.
We are also very strong on production. Republicanism has very little room for charity. We want people to produce. And where people are poor, want to know why they are poor and give them means of getting livelihoods, creating new wealth, and not fighting to distribute what you have or what you don't have. So one of the big problems we have is that under production, we are very strong on what you would call research and development. You find if you look at the Azimio manifesto, it has no research and development. If you look at Kenya Kwanza, they have no research and development. It's like the manna from heaven is going to fall into this country and put money in people's pockets. And that's why we did not join any of the formations, because none of them address the issue of research and development. And that research and development is key to the National Reconstruction Party, so that we can use our universities and other institutions. And this country has been known for doing very good research. If you go down, government departments have been doing a fantastic research in the past. But of late, we see nothing of that mold. We've just become a Mtumba economy. In everything, in Mtumba, there's nothing new.
Nothing is
except
new.
For something like M-Pesa, which was supposed to be a Kenyan innovation, but which did not again benefit Kenyans in terms of who makes the money, you see. So those are the kind of things we want the National Reconstruction Alliance to look into and get down and say, this is where the rain began beating us. We have to stop being a market for other people. and begin producing what we need and also producing for other people.
There's something that you said at the very beginning, which is, what led you into forming this party with your colleagues, the National Reconstruction Alliance, and you talked about the frustration of people lacking a spine, people lacking values, and just, making political deals with a short-term vision and for personal gain. So how different then would you hope that the next dispensation actually operates? Because you're talking about now the past.
Well, what you're looking at is that there's no seedbed. None of the parties has a seedbed for developing leaders. But look at Europe. You can look at European countries, look at America, whatever. Their leaders are nurtured and developed. Here, somebody has to come up by just by pulling themselves up. Maybe somebody has lacked a job. He says, okay, there are going to be elections. Why don't I give it a chance? Yeah. So his aim is a job. But you have tried to want to look at the issues and say, within the National Reconstruction Alliance, can we have institutions for nurturing leadership? Right from there, you saw that there's an ideological anchor to political office. There's an understanding of what political office is supposed to do. Because politics is how things get done. The decisions politicians make that run the country. And so if you have got bad politicians, they will definitely make bad decisions and will end up in a bad place. Among the few things I quote from President Moi, the late, may his soul rest in peace, is the statement he made that siasa mbaya, maisha mabaya. Nothing could be truer than that. And so what we are trying to say is, how do we get this siasa nzuri? And siasa nzuri will begin with the leaders. Like when you look at our country, it's called the Republic of Kenya. Very few people understand the meaning of the word republic in the name of Kenya. We are not a kingdom. We are not an estate. We are not a kiosk. So we are a republic. So how do you govern a republic? You see, what were the aspirations of those founders of this country when they said Kenya will be a republic and not a kingdom? You see. So those are among the things we want to address. And personally, I felt that there was no accommodation in the other parties, and with my friends, and also personality cults.
Okay.
They would like to build a party that is beyond the individual.
Clear the air for us here. So your party did not join Kenya Kwanza or Azimio?
No, we did not.
But your party endorsed?
We endorsed the candidature of Raila Odinga, and we have defended his campaign to the hilt. So, but now things have gone the way they went. The Supreme Court rendered a verdict that is binding on all of us. So we come back and say we are going to work with the government of the day where it is faithful to the laws and the Constitution of Kenya.
So you have not joined Kenya Kwanza?
No, and we are not joining Kenya Kwanza.
Yesterday, when members of Azimio in the Senate, after you all sworn in and now it was time for election of a speaker, members of Azimio staged a walkout. You are among the senators who were left in the House, and you participated in the election of Amason Kingi as your next speaker. And this is what you said after the election, of course. You said, I voted for you, but that does not mean that I joined Kenya Kwanza. I'm a member of the National Reconstruction Alliance. I'll guard my autonomy jealously. I will vote on issues and on conviction. I will not be whipped to vote on anything.
Yes, and that's the true position. That after discussing with my party members and the leadership of the party, we have agreed that we maintain our autonomy so that going forward, we can make it very clear that this is where we stand. And if the government of the day, or if Azimio has an agenda that we feel as a party is an agenda that serves this country, we'll support it. If it's an agenda that we think cannot serve this country, we will not support it. For example, yesterday, the position on the ground was very clear that Azimio did not have a candidate. So how are we going to impose that on the people of Kenya? The failure by Azimio to have a candidate, how was it going to bind me to try and maneuver and say that they should be given a chance for another candidate? How was it going to bind me? I found it that it did not make sense. And even if I was to join them and walk out and postpone the election of the speaker, would the Azimio manufacture a senator from somewhere else to give them numbers?
So they were short
because
on numbers.
as smart as stand now, with Wetangula out, you find Kenya Kwanza will have 23 senators. You will find Azimio will have 22 senators. Okay. If I vote with Azimio, there will be a stalemate.
Yep.
And we do not have a system whereby, which some of us were really fighting for when the constitution was being made, that the vice president ought to be a member of the Senate and to have a tie-breaking vote. Where there's a tie, the vice president would vote. But in this case, until Bungoma elects a senator, we have an even number of senators. So if an election is held the way the numbers are, there will be a perpetual standoff. If I vote with Azimio, there will be a stalemate.
Always be 50-50.
There will be a stalemate which shall not move. So what I did was...
So you're the tiebreaker.
So I will be a tiebreaker. So I looked at that reality and said, over and above that, who are the candidates we have? Is there a candidate I think can, in my own estimation, be a speaker of the Senate? And so I looked at the data provided us with the CVs. And so I looked at the CVs and I saw that Kingi had a track record as having been an MP, a minister, and all those things, and a governor. Then I also looked at the realities on the ground, that the Azimio group that had walked out did not walk away with their members from the coast. All the senators from the coast from Azimio remained in the House. So I saw that this was a situation whereby it would be a question of wasting time if I was to go anyway. And the king being able, and Azimio, Senator Mongeni had raised a very, very critical issue, saying that we required to have been given various clearances from the various government departments on issues of Chapter 6 as regards all the candidates, which were not provided. But the response of the clerk satisfied me, because the clerk said, under this, I don't remember the standing order, was it number 5 or number 3? He does the background check. And whichever candidate is there has all those integrity issues answered. So if that question had not come and the question of integrity had been raised with no rebuttal from the clerk, I would not have voted for Kingi. But when the clerk said it is the mandate of his office,
as provided for in the standing orders of the
standing
House,
order, that you don't have to present those documents to the members, but the clerk does his background check and clears the candidates. So all candidates who are cleared, they have got all those documents, and it's there in writing. I saw no business holding out. That was the only thing that for me would have held my vote. So when that was cleared, and I know the history of this man in terms of what the institutions he has served in, so I consciously decided to give him an affirmation. I gave him a vote.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is that. But I know that some in Azimio are going to court on two grounds, or one is that one of integrity, that there was no, they should have provided the senators with the integrity issues. Maybe they are going to quash that section, I don't know. But whether that will succeed and be applied to the current speaker is something I also don't know. It might have to be maybe for next house, where they will require that the document be supplied. But the law as it is doesn't require it. The other thing that I've raised, that's going to be raised, which is equally weighty, that I also listened to keenly and made a conscious decision. Senator Kajwang raised an issue as regards the timelines. The IBC delayed to gazette nominated senators. Nominated senators are qualified to vie for the seat of the deputy speaker. By the time they were gazetted, the time for submitting nomination papers to be elected as deputy speaker had lapsed. And therefore, that category
had been denied.
My litmus test in that particular case is that had Senator Kajwang come and said, I have a document here from a nominated senator who wants to run for the office of deputy speaker, but this document could not be submitted because the time, there was a time had been bad, and asked for the time for the document to be accepted, or somebody had said that have got so and so who wants to collect the forms and vie as a deputy speaker. That would for me have carried weight and said, okay, there's somebody, it's not an academic issue.
There's actually somebody in the house
There's somebody in the house who has been locked out. So when that threshold was not realized, it became academic for me, because we might extend and nobody comes up. And the house has to move on. The country has a lot of things that need to be done. So on that basis, again, I decided that I would not support that motion. And we even had a discussion when there was some lobbying here and there. We had a discussion. And a candidate was not told me that so and so, and a nominated senator from Azimio or a nominated senator from Kenya Kwanza would like to be a deputy speaker. And there's nobody coming in. And you know, even the deputy speaker sailed through an opposed, which means Azimio did not have a candidate.
They didn't have a candidate anyway.
You say not have a candidate anyway, so there's nobody even on the cards. So why would we hold up the house in a situation whereby it was clear that candidates were not coming? The candidate we had in Azimio, Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, whom I even met the day before, he lobbied for my vote. I listened to him. Only to wake up in the morning and read in the papers.
He has withdrawn.
He has withdrawn. And I left Parliament buildings. I left whatever I was doing during the induction, and he called me, and being a senior politician, I left whatever I was doing. I rushed to Serena. I met him. I listened to him for about 20 minutes. Then I came back, only to wake up in the morning and find that His Excellency had changed his mind. And then here you hear a situation whereby again you have a deputy governor. There's no candidate for deputy governor. For deputy speaker, sorry. So it becomes a bit untidy.
So you made a conscious decision.
I made a conscious decision that the country needs to move on.
Right.
And in this situation whereby Azimio has no candidates, let us look at which candidates there are. So he didn't even vote for the deputy speaker. He sailed through. But I'm also sure that had they waited in terms of procedure, because in the house, what I'm beginning to learn as I was been reading, even if you look at my eyes, I've been reading the standing orders. When you look at them, as I have read most of the night, when you look at them, You cannot discuss a motion that is not on the floor. So the motion of the Deputy Speaker, if they had only been patient and come into the office, and then when they were now raising the issue of the Deputy Speaker, began raising those points. At that point, we could really have engaged. But nobody was there to move the motion because they had walked out. And so when the motion on the Deputy Speaker was called,
they were not there.
There was silence. When the names of the candidates were read, only one candidate was emerged. See?
That's already showing us the kind of representation that we're going to have for the people of Busia in the Senate, and that's why we are here. You're here today. We are actually, our topic for this is Okiya Omtatah, the modern day People's Watchman. You know where the People's Watchman tag, of course, came from, and you know what it represented. And that's what we're asking: is this the modern day People's Watchman? You know the work that you've been doing in terms of advocating for change and going even into litigation in Parliament, in the judiciary, and pushing through things. And now you are in the Senate. What are you going to do? What should we expect from Okiya Omtatah? 040. Let's continue that conversation after the break. It's 8:30. Okiya Omtatah is a senator for Busia County, elected on a National Reconstruction Alliance ticket. County 040. There's also County 049 on Showmax, which is the third episode is out now. Showmax is basically showing this Kenyan production, County 049. County 49 is about this governor who was elected into office, found themselves into some trouble because of some money that had disappeared and allegations of corruption here and there. Of course, then he's hounded out of office. Deputy governor takes over. But the people of Buatele County are still not happy, and they take matters into their own hands. And this is the drama that you see on County 49. Just log on to Showmax and subscribe to Showmax for as little as how much, Ndu?
760 shillings per month. As little as that.
And you get to see all that. Also, 25th of September, Sunday, all roads lead to the Nairobi Racecourse because the 50th edition of the Concours d'Elegance is going to be taking place on that day. Vintage cars, vintage motorcycles, they'll be judged. And then also it'll be an entire fashion event as well, an entire lifestyle event. Even kiddie playgrounds and areas will also be available. So start planning today for the 25th of September for the concours. Let's take this quick break. We'll be back shortly.
I know the sun is out in Nairobi at least. As you tembea, be careful. Manchester United are trying to sign anyone. Watch out where your children are. Please hide yourselves.
Sugar and spice!
I reached a point where suicide things were just going south completely. Something stopped me. It's God now, my mom's prayers.
Join me, Yolanda Mulo, and DJ Absolute every single weekday from 11 a.m. to 3
Nairobi.
Sunny conditions for now in Nairobi at 16, highs of 20 and lows of 14. Mostly cloudy at 17 in Nakuru, highs of 25 and lows of 14, and 13 will be the low. In a rainy Nyeri at 13, going to highs of 19. 23 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Eldoret at 14, coming down to lows of 13. It's raining in Mombasa, we'll see highs of 28 and lows of 23. 24 will be the low in Malindi, where it's raining as well, going to highs of 29. And it's partly sunny at 21 in Kisumu, we'll see highs of 28 and 27 will be the high in a partly sunny Kakamega. Looking into Kampala, and it's sunny at 22, highs of 26. 29 will be the high. Sunny at 23 in Dar es Salaam. 18 degrees and mostly sunny in Johannesburg. Highs of 27 and 30 will be the high. It's mostly clear for now in Lagos at 24. It's partly sunny at 22 in Kinshasa. That'll be the high at 30 and lows of 22.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
Yeah! You're listening to Spice FM.
Not looking too bad on Jogger Road this morning. We're seeing some traffic going out towards Landis. Landis is, though, where it gets really heavy proper as you're approaching that Kamkunji roundabout. Coming off a thicker superhighway, still thick and heavy. It's doing the same thing on Kiambu Road. Limuru Road, we're seeing all of that still going on. Parklands going into Westlands. James Gishuru is evening out, but we still have some traffic as you get onto the drift out towards Wayaki Way. Still in traffic hour, and we're likely to see this continue for some time. Let us know what's going on where you are. However, on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Spice and everything nice, everything nice.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
The conversation continues on
Mornings done right.
Online. 90 Senator Okiya Omtatah, being hosted by Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, and Siti Muga. Charles.
Mheshimiwa, you know, these fellows will not let me breathe. My first name is Charles, but I use my initials. And somehow they get tickled just because the Queen of England has passed away and her son, whose first name happens to be Charles. Why don't you use the other 4 names that the person has?
Well, if your name was Arthur, we'd have called you that. Or George. Or Philip.
But seeing as it's Charles.
Mheshimiwa, there's something I'd like to ask. I've been listening to what you're saying. I like what you're saying. It makes a great deal of sense. From what you have observed and from what you read, I have 2 questions. One, when one is in Parliament, what is the role of the standing orders and what weight do they bear when you compare what it is those standing orders are and what they dictate and what it is they dictate with reference to the Constitution?
Well, you're coming to the question of the hierarchy of laws.
Yes.
And in the hierarchy of laws, we have the Constitution as the super law. Under the Constitution, you have got Acts of Parliament. And then under the Acts of Parliament, you have got rules and regulations, or statutory instruments, which is also legislation, but the legislation that's not done directly by Parliament, but which is delegated to other organs to make. Now, in the Constitution provides for each house to have standing orders. They're anchored in the Constitution. They're not anchored in legislation. So it requires that each house has standing orders, and the standing orders are a form of legislation. They are a law that for as long as they're there, then they have to be obeyed as the law. If you don't want to obey them, you either need to get Parliament to repeal that law, or the courts to declare that law unconstitutional. Yeah. As we stand today, the standing orders are the law for conducting business in Parliament. There's no other law for conducting business in Parliament other than the standing orders, which have a constitutional anchoring. And that's why I was saying that the issue of Chapter 6 was weighty. But when the clerk clarified that it is him who clears and all the candidates who are on the table had met the threshold, I had no business doubting him. So that's where it was. But there's also something, there's also a sense of urgency today. That I don't want His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, when he begins counting his 100 days on, is it Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, then of course under the constitution we can't count Tuesday, we begin on Wednesday. He made a long list of promises that he's going to implement immediately he gets in office. And I don't want him to say that, like Uhuru used to say that there's one man in this country who cannot let me do my work. He's always getting court orders here and there. I don't like to give that benefit to William Ruto. And that's why we need to get out the preliminaries of getting the speakers and getting whatever, so that from Wednesday, the price of gasoline, the price of unga, all these things that were, because there is something called electoral fraud. And in my understanding of electoral fraud, it's not just playing around with ballots. It's also making false promises. If I cheat, if I tell you that if you make me the Senator of Busia, I'm going to cut a piece of the moon and hang it in every home so that nobody will ever see darkness at night. And I don't do that. I've committed an electoral fraud. So I don't want to be able to stand in the way of His Excellency, William Ruto. Let us remove all these small issues away. Give him all the support he needs to implement his very flowery agenda. And I would like it to work because it will benefit the people of Kenya.
Sure.
So there's that sense of urgency in some of the decisions I'm making, so that we don't stop the president-elect, when he becomes president, from implementing his very, very good agenda for this country.
Senator, who keeps then these promises, or who keeps the maker of the promises in check? I mean, before your time as a senator now, you were very active in making sure that matters of the Constitution were followed by way of going to the courts to establish some of these things, to stop certain things from going on in the way in which they were, which earned you your stripes that you have today. Now, who's responsible for seeing that maybe if in the event that some of those things that were promised then do not happen, who then is responsible for keeping him and the administration of government in line?
That one you have to look at it in terms of not having adequate laws. And you see, one of the things I've had was when I decided to join the majoritarian institutions, I look at it as a river flowing from the mountains down to the lake. Yeah? Then somewhere in between, upstream, somebody constructs a dam to irrigate his golf course or whatever. Then the water does not flow down. Now down here, you can do a few things. You can say, okay, let us distribute this water equally. Let us limit the amount of water you can use when taking a shower. You will not use a bathtub, but you'll use a shower. Or you not use a shower, you'll have to use a bucket. And things like those. You will stop using flush toilets. You'll have to dig pit latrines. You do all that. That's what you have been doing as activists.
Yes.
You do all that, and then it's not enough.
Because the dam is still...
Yeah, the water is not... The fact is that the water is not enough.
Yes.
However much you try to deal with it. But there's somebody who has built a dam upstream where he's trapping the water that's supposed to be flowing down. The solution is to go upstream and destroy that dam. And so some of us going into parliament, I'm consciously going there to destroy the dams that are in parliament.
So that the water can
flow.
Through
legislation, we want to get appropriate legislation that will be able to make some of these things fruitful. If we don't say, and I would want to build the partnerships and see that we are able to deal with things like in health. Health is a devolved function. But about 80% of the money is controlled in Nairobi. Down there, the governors have nothing to do. So we need to put up a proper health commission for standardization of services across the counties, so that when I'm in Laikipia and I'm in Mandera, the level of service delivery is the same. The curative services are with the same level and what have you, and are run professionally by doctors, and the funds for health go to the governors. So that this thing like leasing equipment through the national government, whereby something costing 100 shillings is being costed at 1 million or 2 million shillings, has to stop. So that dam has to be destroyed. And one of the things I'm really going to do is to fight and get proper legislation to entrench devolution. To entrench devolution in society, just like the Constitution has entrenched it, to operationalize that entrenchment in society. So that those kind of things. And that's why even on the electoral laws, you have seen what has happened. We also need to address it and see what kind of things need to be dealt with to make sure that the next elections are verifiable. The next elections, as easy to tell a winner. And if somebody loses, he has lost. He will not have any room
to be clear.
Yeah, it will be clear. Yeah, not to be depending on a pronouncement
of 7,
of 1 or 2 or 7. You see, let the victory be clear from day one. So those are the kind of things that need to be engaged with.
On that issue of health, just to take you back a little bit. Today is Friday. We usually have a health conversation, and Dr. Mercy Korir will be joining us at 9. We've actually talked about this before, where you say that, yes, one of the things that we need to see is the proper devolution of funds for health. 80% of thereabout is still being held at the national level, yet health is a devolved function. What is the solution to this? Would it be like what? Abolishing the health ministry? You say creating a commission at the national level. What else?
You can't abolish the health ministry because the health ministry is for policy. But I personally believe that during when we were doing the constitution last time, there was the idea that we are going to form a health commission. And I know that in the report of the committee of experts, it is stated that they could not form the health commission and the other commission because there would be too many commissions in the constitution. But Parliament undertook to implement it within some period of time to set up a proper health commission. We need a health commission to standardize the work environment for doctors, to standardize the quality of service delivery, so that when you walk into a public institution of whatever level, you walk into it and you realize that it is proper. We also need a health commission to manage the distribution of resources. Because there's been this madness in the counties that every county wants to put up a Kenyatta National Hospital. Totally irrational. Because it's irrational because to equip that hospital and to man it is no light feat. So you'll end up with a lot of white elephants. But so that the referral system, maybe counties will need to be put into clusters. Maybe under the old provinces or some other formula, so that the centers of excellence can serve a wider region.
Yeah.
Because some of this very top high-level expertise may just be required once in a year. So you're not going to keep 47 highly qualified medical personnel with heavy, very expensive equipment waiting to get a patient in 2 or 3 years' time. So we need to look at the referral system under the devolved government so that we create a referral system that is both county-based and largely regional, and then eventually it feeds into the national. Because so that Kenyatta, the Jomo Kenyatta, the Kenyatta University Hospital, the Kenyatta Hospital, Moi Referral, become centers of excellence. Another thing we need to push through is that you look at every county, there's this thing of every county going for a teaching hospital.
Yeah.
Again, I come back to my position. We also need research hospitals where research is carried out on patients. So the patient can come in and you say, we'd like to carry out research on this ailment. And the patient concedes that he can try out the new kind of medicines or the new ideas that are there can be tried on them and see how they behave. So we also need to move to the level of having research and teaching hospitals. So that a teaching hospital should preferably incorporate a component of research. And again, you see my anchoring in research. So that you can develop new ideas and new products to deal with the ailments. So that's among the areas that I want to also to see that if I could talk to fellow legislators in the Senate to get a meeting of minds and push forward and see that we get proper laws that will devolve health, that will secure the funds within health, and make sure that this money is used properly, not necessarily giving the money to the governors, maybe come up with a mechanism through which the money gets to the hospitals directly. And they've got accounting officers there and stuff like that. And the totality of all this effort should have a national position. So we build in capacity at the end of the day that is national, so that we don't do a lot of duplication in one area and then we find that some areas have been neglected. So it's an area that needs a lot of engagement, and it's something I really, really want to put my mind to and lobby my fellow senators to see that we entrench that. Another one is agriculture. It's devolved, but everything is still in Nairobi. You see, we need to get to a position whereby we restore proper. We give our people the capacity to engage in what we call kilimo biashara or modern farming, where people farm for food and also for profit. And just like today, when I look at the village I come from, when we were small boys, you could simply hit the ground with one djembe and you get a lot of earthworms. And you go with your hooks and you go fishing with those earthworms as bait. Today, if you dig, and I even tried it when I was home over the weekend. I was digging somewhere and I could not see a single earthworm. You see, which means the soil is dying. And these are areas that need a lot of resources to be invested, maybe to do a soil mapping across this country to see what kind of interventions are required to restore the health of the ground. So that people, even if you are going to peasant farming, it can be productive. Today, you see a lot of people suffering. Even if you drive along Mombasa, going to Western, actually drive during the day, you look at the farms, as you just begin from that escarpment, as you go down, you'll see people growing maize that is just buffed, and it's here in, here out. And this is labor that people are putting in, and these are people who have no option. What do these people need to put in that soil to be able to get a good crop? Or what crop do they need to grow in that soil to get a harvest? You see, this is the kind of thing that this is the kind of discussion that needs to be done at a national level, so that peasant farming, and we are largely a peasant economy, so that peasant farming can be rewarding.
Do you think that there's a desire for there to be a meeting of minds and consensus then amongst legislators today from where you see it? Because what you're talking about, to the person who's listening to you, it makes sense. But then the fear has always been that there is a large number of would-be legislators who go into the National Assembly without the intent of doing what they ought to do. So from where you are, is there enough in terms of this consensus of minds to come together and start to do some of the things that you're speaking of?
Yes, I think there is. Because since I got, I've been speaking to quite a number of senators, and all of them have got good intentions. I've spoken to senators. So far I've spoken to about 3/4 of the members of the Senate, trying to introduce myself and to know them and where they come from. And these things I try to have discussed some with some of them, and there are also things that are open to. But these are sober people who I think have got the good intention of this country. And one of the things we want to drive is to assert the position of the Senate as the upper house. And it's the upper house because it's the one which guarantees devolution. So if we go matters of devolution and push for proper legislation in devolution, I'm seeing even the stature of the Senate being raised. Because what people don't know that in protocol, in the political offices, you come from the president to the senator to the governor. It's not the president, governor, senator.
Well, Omtatah, please explain this to me, Mheshimiwa. What you say makes sense. It is clear. It is seen the world over. People have a system such as ours. But why is it that it hasn't been so?
No, the problem has been that many people have tended to look at the Senate as a stepping stone to other things.
Or as a retirement home.
Yeah, the other thing that a lot of people who came into the Senate had a history of the National Assembly. You see. Right now, I think people have got a history of National Assembly in the Senate. It's very small. Most of the people are coming either as senators who had come, first time they entered the House was in the Senate. And new people have come to the Senate. And the pronouncements of the Supreme Court on the place of the Senate have also entrenched the position of the Senate as the upper house. And so when we put in legislation and even if you saw when I stood up on the floor yesterday in my opening remarks, I said that the time had come for the Senate to get an equal share of seats on the Parliamentary Service Commission. And that motion was, although I didn't move it as a motion, but every senator who spoke after me spoke about it, and some with more eloquence than I had placed it. Because I'm more familiar with the problem than I have more familiarity with the problems than I have. So the goodwill in the Senate, I think, is there. I don't doubt that there's political goodwill. I think after we get over
what would be the challenge? Do you think allegiance to a political party would be a challenge? So, for instance, the majority today of members of the Senate belong to Kenya Kwanza, and the executive is a Kenya Kwanza executive. Some of the laws that you're proposing would be going to break the dams that have been created by the executive, that are benefiting the executive.
Yes, but I know that with the kind of promises that President-elect William Ruto is not yet president yet, President-elect William Ruto has promised he can't achieve them without breaking those dams. Yeah. So I'm sure that this kind of proposals fit into what he was trying to say. If it's bottoms up or bottom up, that bottom up idea can only thrive whereby you break the dams upstream.
So the water has to
water has to flow to the bottom.
To the bottom.
Yeah.
Has he reached out to you, the president-elect?
Well, I'm in a unique position whereby, even as we were in the Supreme Court the other day, when we were litigating, whatever we were litigating, I think I was the only person who had spoken to, who was speaking to Chebukati, is a personal friend. Speaking to Ruto is a personal friend. Speaking to Raila is a personal friend. The only thing I was pursuing there is what I conceived was to the truth, which the Supreme Court said was not. I had my ideas were dislocated. So I said, okay. Okay, that's it. So at a personal level,
you speak with...
I speak with the President Ruto. We elect Ruto, and even after my election, we spoke. Right Honorable Raila, we speak. Mr. Chebukati, after he announced the results at the Bombas,
you spoke.
I think I'm among the first people he called. He called me and we spoke, because we've got a long history of knowing each other. And so, and even if you looked at my petition, I didn't attack anybody or praise anybody. I just went for what I thought was the issues. Yeah, because I had all these three main players are my personal friends. You see. Well, so I think that if I have an idea and I floated it, it may not necessarily be fought because it's coming from Omtatah. It may only be fought because it makes no sense. But
Okay.
if it makes sense, I think both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza
We'll take
will take it.
Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for joining us today. Okiya Omtatah is the newly elected senator for Busia County under the National Reconstruction Alliance. He's been here with us telling us his agenda for legislation. And of course, we'll be inviting you in coming days. Asante sana for joining us.
Asante.
Keep it here. Here's the news. It's 9 a.m.
Military farewell ceremony for President Uhuru Kenyatta has begun at the Ulinzi Sports Complex in Lang'ata. Kenyatta is expected at the grounds at around 10 a.m. The ceremony will be presided over by Chief of Defence Forces General Robert Kibochi. This follows by a symbolic escort out of the Defence Headquarters as the Kenya Defence Forces bid farewell to their Commander-in-Chief for the last 10 years. The two-part event will be the second last of President Kenyatta's constitutional mandates as his term draws to an end next week, Tuesday. The outgoing president will inspect his final guard of honor on Tuesday next week. Now, the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta has joined other world leaders in mourning Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away yesterday night at her Balmoral Castle in Scotland. In his message, President Kenyatta mourned the 96-year-old monarch as a towering global icon of selfless service to humanity. Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain was the longest reigning monarch in British history. She celebrated 70 years on the throne on June 2022 with a platinum jubilee. Queen Elizabeth II became queen on February 6, 1952 during a royal visit to Kenya after her father, King George VI, died suddenly during a royal visit to Kenya. As the longest-serving monarch in the British history, she has tried to make her reign more modern and sensitive to a changing public while maintaining traditions associated with the crown. Recently appointed British Prime Minister Liz Truss has praised Queen Elizabeth's legacy and her impact around the world.
The death of Her Majesty the Queen is a huge shock to the nation and to the world. Queen Elizabeth II was the rock on which modern Britain was built. Our country has grown and flourished under her reign. Britain is the great country it is today because of her. She ascended the throne just after the Second World War. She championed the development of the Commonwealth from a small group of 7 countries to a family of 56 nations, spanning every continent of the world. We are now a modern, thriving, dynamic nation. Through thick and thin, Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed.
Following her death, her eldest son becomes King Charles III. Siaya Governor James Orengo has disowned utterances made by the region's governance and administration chief officer Joseph Omondi that insinuated that the county had set aside 30 acres of land to construct the official residencies of the governor and his deputy, estimated to be worth 79 million shillings jointly. Addressing the press from his office, Orengo has clarified that his county has yet to receive any budgetary allocation for the same and that the announcement was made prematurely by Omondi. He has also assured locals of casual jobs, adding that he will only outsource the technical team and not casual laborers who he says will be sourced locally.
We had put a stop to payment of all pending bills until we carry out an audit on the pending bills, and that exercise is ongoing, and these pending bills will be paid at the end of that exercise if they are properly based on legitimate contracts and the procurement processes were complied with and they were in the plans and there was revenue in terms of budgetary allocations.
Nick Mwendwa has made a comeback as the president of the Football Kenya Federation. This comes months after he was kicked out of office following a directive by Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed, who ordered investigations into the federal finances. But in a letter yesterday, Mwendwa informed FIFA President Gianni Infantino that he had assumed his role as the head of Kenya's football body. Defending his decision to assume power, Mwendwa explained that the office of the Directorate of Criminal Investigation had withdrawn charges leveled against him. That's your news at the top of the hour. My name is Stephanie Wangari.
has built up in certain parts of the city this morning, and we're still looking at it really heavy coming off of Jogoo Road. We're also looking at some traffic in the CBD, quite heavy. We're looking at it coming off of the Thika Superhighway, coming out of Westlands, which it has tried to, stabilize over the last hour or so. Traffic coming out of Uhuru Highway and then into the CBD as well. So it's been a busy morning. We should be out of traffic hour soon enough. Looking at Jogoo Road going out towards Landis, there's still some there. Outer Ring not doing too badly as you try to connect to the Thika Superhighway thereafter. Let's keep an eye on things and see how it progresses through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's know what's going on where you are and attempt to keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
At 7 minutes
This
after
is
9
the
o'clock, we're
Situation Room.
into the final
The only-
hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room this morning, and getting into our conversations of Healthy Fridays. And Dr. Mercy Korir will be in the hot seat in a minute or three. But before she does
Hot.
getting into the hour, we hear from
Charles, the 2.5.
Right.
Right.
A proverb from the country of Chad.
Right.
So it's a Chadian proverb. Not Chadinese. Eric?
Not Chardonnay.
No.
Okay.
All right. All truth is good, but not all truth is good to say.
All truth is good, but not all truth is good to say. Dr. Mercy, you're beautiful.
Thank you.
That's good to say.
Me, I think it's even better to hear.
some truth you keep to yourself.
Some truth you keep to yourself. Na wewe bibi yako ni mrembo bwana.
Hey, you're inviting trouble.
Bibi yangu ni mrembo, eh? Okay. Na yako?
Tafuta yako. Wewe bibi yako.
Usiseme ukweli yote.
Wewe ulitoa wapi?
Eric, remember what I mentioned earlier, the conversations parents have when the children are there. Careful. A story is told. A story is told of a cousin of mine who, as a child, okay, one didn't know. He was a silent fellow, didn't really talk much. So parents would not notice that he is there. Now, there was an uncle whom liked playing with him. He was one of these lovely uncles who, as a child, even we remember, he'd come and play football with you. He was a nice fellow. So one day they came visiting, and my cousin was also there. And my cousin wasn't eating and was looking at the uncle. So, of course, it is my mother who asked, "Why aren't you eating?" And he said, "I want to ask uncle a question." But he said, "If I ask you the question, will you beat me?" He says, No, I will not beat you. Please ask. So my cousin perked himself up and asked the question, "Uncle so-and-so, does your wife still beat you?" The silence on that table. We were all told to get out. We carried our plates and rushed outside.
You disappear into nothingness.
No, we disappeared quickly. It's like we never heard anything. That was a conversation that parents had had, adults had had
in the
hearings
presence
of this child. So the child was innocently just repeating.
I mean, he got really concerned.
No, this was his friend.
Because he's a very good friend. I
And
mean,
a-
why would
and a grown
somebody
up.
beat
And
someone?
so him as a child, he understood he could be beaten. But why was this grown up also being beaten? And by the wife.
Yes.
So be careful.
Hey, Daktari, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good to see you again today.
Thank you for
Welcome
always having
to Health
me.
Friday.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Today you're having nominated senator.
Yes.
Elected senator.
Yes.
So future senator.
Future
Well,
senator.
yes. I mean, these are the people whom we elect and we depend on to do our will. Okay? Not their will, ours.
Service to the people.
Yes, so when they're still freshly minted, we want them to come in and tell us these lovely ideas that they have, what they're going to do, how they want to. And we also tell them we'd like to have them back again because we will be holding them to account. We'll be asking, so and so, when you were here last, you told us this. In fact, let me just quote you verbatim. You said blah, 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 blah. How far have we gone with that particular matter? Yes.
Like, for example, what Senator Omtatah was talking about, the Health Service Commission. For a very long time, no legislator has been willing to
publicly talk about it.
And stake their reputation literally on it because of the kind of landmines that will come their way, considering for many it looks like, you're disrupting and disturbing the evolution of health and wanting to reverse it back. But I thought the kind of thoughts that he had is actually what we've been discussing in this situation room about standardizing care so that whether you're in Nyandarua, whether you're in Turkana, you can still be sure to get the same kind of care.
Whether you're in Ilkek, yes, or on your way to, it's just before more than that. Yes.
So now we know exactly where it is.
Now, remote places, they're in Kenya, people live there, okay? And they need these services.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a good place to start, and I think it's about hitting the road, hitting there.
You hit the road running.
While it's still hot.
While it's still hot.
Yeah.
Yes.
While the iron is still hot.
Hit the road.
Hit the road. You strike.
You strike.
You
Strike while the iron is still hot.
No, that's the rod. Now the road.
Hit the road running.
Yes.
My friend.
Which one do you want?
Kisumu.
Both.
No. I see what Eric is saying. Ukichapa na road, unakimbia. No, Eric, see here.
Hit the road
Strike.
running.
Okay, let's
strike the road.
Yeah,
while
let's
still
work
hot.
with strike.
Strike while the iron is still hot.
Yes, yes. Strike while
Don't strike the road.
No.
Eric.
Yeah.
Eric was hitting the road running.
Hit the road running and strike the road. Okay.
Yeah.
So that conversation is actually interesting, and that's why we're engaging a bit on it. And in fact, even him giving that background. Look, the report of the Committee of Experts on Constitution Review had said it would be nice to have this kind of commission. But they were only hesitant because, of course, they were balancing the politics and saying that whole excuse of there'd be many commissions, that was hogwash.
Yeah.
Because they gave the option of the Human Rights, Gender and Equality Commission to be split. And that's why we got a split commission. So they could still have added one more commission. I mean, what's
True.
And especially looking at the value that it adds. But then the members of parliament, when they met in Naivasha, they committed to having a commission that addresses the issue of health management in the country. So,
and I think at the time, health was not at the center of politics like it is now. I think back then, the health workforce were not as vocal because it's all of this. One of the proverbs City should add is, or Charles 2.5, you should add is,
Well done.
kila mwamba ngoma huvuta kwake. Everyone, you lobby and fight for what is of your interest. So at the time, the healthcare workforce were not as vocal and as active as they are now, or as you've seen since 2010, 2011. And that's why we've seen a lot of progress and tremendous progress in the health sector, not just about the kind of services, the kind of healthcare workforce, but also just having it as an everyday conversation that people will sit down and say, hey, let me hear what is being discussed here. What is the conversation about health? So I think this is probably the time for it then. And especially with the incoming administration that is looking at a bottom-up approach, then probably it's time to relook or have that conversation. The reason I say bottom-up is yesterday I was going through the Kenya Kwanza manifesto on health, and they've really put emphasis on primary health care. And in Schedule 4, and that's what Omtatah was saying just before he left, public health, for example, is one of the issues that was clearly devolved according to Schedule 4. And Kenya Kwanza is heavy. That's like their bottom pillar of healthcare in, addressing preventive, promotive services as opposed to pegging a lot on curative healthcare services. So yes, we may have a chance to have this conversation and actually to advance it and make sure something tangible comes out of it.
You know, what is clear, as you say, when it comes to the health manifesto, it's like Kenya Kwanza consulted health practitioners and took the advice. Because I'm sure everyone who had a manifesto, and a health manifesto at that, had something to say. But if you look at some of the other manifestos, there are gaps. You look and it's like they're all over the place and you're wondering, okay, so where exactly do you want us to go with this? Now, if someone doesn't focus on what you call basic health, yes, fundamental health services in a country such as ours, I think you've actually missed the point.
Oh, definitely.
And if you don't focus on the preventative aspects of healthcare, then now you really have an even bigger problem. Because even countries that we consider to be developed and countries that we consider to be wealthy, even they cannot afford the sort of health services that some of our people keep talking about. No, they can't. They will try, but they actually can't. And the reason is because the preventative aspect of the healthcare was long taken care of. So even when people seek health services, it isn't in the large numbers that we have, and it isn't with primary concerns being the main issue. No.
And looking at studies and future, is it predictions or projections of the healthcare? Projections, yeah. Of the healthcare concerns that will be in the country, we will have more non-communicable diseases affecting us than communicable diseases, the infections, the malarias, the pneumonias, There'll be a shift towards NCDs. But now if you look at it, if you put a lot of emphasis on prevention, on promoting health and well-being, you will avoid or you will reduce the chances of getting NCDs, cancers, diabetes, hypertension, which are costly to the healthcare system.
Extremely.
Because treatment in itself is expensive. Managing that is expensive. You need a highly specialized workforce, because if you think about it, if you need to do kidney transplant, it's not every Tom, Dick and Harry that will do. It's not any doctor that will do that. So there'll be a shift, and that becomes even more expensive. So if you have a chance now to save your population from that catastrophic health expenditure that is projected if they get non-communicable diseases, then this would be the time to act. And this would be the time to actually peg and put a lot of emphasis on making sure that your bottom tier of the pyramid is actually well taken care of, so that you have more public health officers, you have more environmental health officers at work, you have more community health care workers, no longer volunteers, paid for and doing their work, so that now we actually put boots on the ground to do the hard work of making sure that this population is healthy, so that you reduce the strain that comes on your secondary and tertiary level care.
This is what the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto says on healthcare. So they have 3 pillars. The fully publicly financed primary healthcare. Publicly financed is important to note. Second is universal seamless health insurance system, comprising a mandatory NHIF and a private insurance as complementary covers, with NHIF as the primary and private as secondary cover. And then they talk about a national fund for chronic and catastrophic illnesses and injury costs not covered or with very restrictive cover by insurance. These include cancer, diabetes, strokes and accident rehabilitation, pandemics. These are to be funded by a combination of insurance, levy, and government. Those are big things.
They are.
But
it's so how I saw it, and I remember having a Twitter conversation with David D on the same, is you're basically reorganizing your finances so that you, like I think the primary healthcare, the publicly funded will take half the finances or the projection. So from the 550 billion shillings, which is the health expenditure, then half of that should be on
going to primary.
Primary, which is now, if you do it right, it means your need for the secondary and tertiary is reduced because you're able to manage a lot of the things at the primary level. Now, when you go to secondary and tertiary, for example, so what they were saying was, if you go to Facility X, for example, and they find that you have a kidney issue or a cancer something, then they take care of you and then refer you to either the next level of care, but then they claim whatever they have spent on you from that catastrophic fund, for example.
All right.
So that you're not told, this one, we will do the ABC and D, pay us first. So that they just take care of you, they refer you to where you need specialized care, then the facility or the healthcare provider claims from
the fund.
From the fund. So that now you as a user, and that's the one thing that I've always been campaigning for, as a user, I have prepaid.
Yeah.
So at the point of care, I shouldn't need
just
to
accessing the
remove
service.
any cent.
Right.
So that now this becomes an issue of organizing how people get claims, even for emergency funds, any of this, so that now that becomes a conversation between government and the healthcare providers. So that my job as a citizen or as a mandatory NHIF payer is to make sure that I'm up to date with my premiums.
Yeah.
How difficult would that be to do? Because who are we pulling on here? Because it makes sense. Because is that not the situation that we have today? That even with your NHIF contribution, you're walking into hospital, the likelihood of you being asked to, fork out some extra funds is quite high for whatever reason. So with what you're talking about, how difficult would that be to do in the current state of things?
In the current state of things, it is challenging. Let me not say difficult, challenging, because NHIF is the fund manager, is the one that accredits or, onboards health facilities,
service providers,
is the one that pays the claims, is the one that does everything. So one of the things that is there, now I'm starting to sound like Kenya Kwanza.
You've studied it.
Health.
Yeah, let's talk about what they're saying. Yes.
So what they're saying is that to reorganize NHIF so that you have somebody who's a fund manager who gets the funds, then somebody else processes the claim, so that you remove that you remove that codependence.
So the collector of the fund and the manager of the fund is different from
Yes.
the one who dispenses, expends the fund.
Exactly. So that you remove your chances of fraud or conflict of interest and things like that. So, for example, Facility X, if I offend somebody in NHI, for example, this is just a hypothetical situation, they'll strike me out, and for whatever reason, because they hold the arm and the knife. They are able to say you can provide healthcare services under NHIF. If something goes wrong, they kick you out. But if somebody else is accrediting, and we already have those, we have the KHPOA Kenya Health Professionals Oversight Authority. They've looked at all our healthcare facilities, they've classified them, they've done all of that, so that is differently done. Your healthcare professionals have their own councils that accredit and deals with all of that, so that you have that. Now you come on this other side, you have somebody that is collecting the funds. So that my work is just to make sure everyone is mandatory, is paying, and we have all of these funds. Then now when the hospital X is claiming, they have somebody else that they come and say, we've offered all these services, our bill is 10 bob, pay us. So that now all of this is done differently, according to their plan.
I have an
You
issue.
people, I think
So,
you had...
listen to this, implementation and reforms. The Kenya Kwanza Manifesto says, we recognize that even though enrollment to NHIF is now mandatory by law, there are practical challenges of enrolling self-employed Kenyans who are the majority. Indeed, NHIF is already grappling with the challenge of intermittent contributions and people enrolling when they are sick, or they are referred to economic as adverse selection.
Adverse selection, yeah.
A number of initiatives will be deployed to make enrollment easier for self-employed Kenyans, including 1, leveraging on the proposed primary health fund as platforms for community-based group schemes. Put that fund 1. 2, leveraging on the Hustler Fund and farmer organization initiatives to set up occupational schemes for trades, for example, boda boda, market women circles, and such. 3, affordable, flexible premium financing schemes, for example, contributes financed quarterly in advance, contributors repay the loans weekly or other interval aligned with their income streams. Those are different. I don't get any of them.
So that from how I understood it is on the pooling aspect, collecting funds, so that we are a boda boda circle.
Yeah.
We organize ourselves to make sure we are regularly contributing. The Hustler Fund, if we are beneficiaries, we make sure we are contributing. So how I understood it was that was the part of pooling
encouraging
funds,
more people.
Yes, to put in.
To afford to pay.
Exactly. You've seen there was also a conversation of making payments favorable, so that if I'm on a daily wage, how much per day do I need to contribute so that I meet the 300 shillings? Because one of the other proposals they have is that payments will be between 300 and 3,000 per household, depending on ability to pay. So that currently, for example, if you're both employed and say you're paying 1,000 shillings for ease of calculations, you'll both be paying 2,000 shillings as a couple, and you get the same funds that a single person who's paying 1,000 shillings only is getting. So one of the proposals is to convert that also to become a household contribution. So not individual, so that it makes it more affordable, and then reduce some of these premiums, and they worked it out. And plus all of that, they look at getting 200 billion a year from the funds which are pooled. So there's an aspect of where do we get the funds from?
Because right now, for those who are okay, so now it's no longer at the voluntary contributor. With the new law, everybody's a mandatory contributor. Okay, I get it. So the new law, everybody, doesn't matter how many people are in the household, as long as they're adults, they contribute, right? But now, if we go into employment, and it's mandatory as well to deduct, are you saying that, someone can come and claim, oh, no, here's a marriage certificate, a member of this household is already contributing, so the rest of us should not.
No, but look, if it's NHIF, they ask you the names of your dependents.
Yes.
Assuming they're your dependents.
Yes.
Spouse,
children, and proof.
Yes. And once it is there, they are beneficiaries.
Yes.
So my confusion is so what's new about this other thing? Because
it's the contribution.
It's the contribution.
The amount.
The amount.
Yes, but then if it is mandatory, you will be contributing anyway, and the eventuality will be the same.
So the issue now here is, you see, let's say you and your spouse are both contributing, and you have also already listed each other as beneficiaries. If you go to claim, you will get the same level of benefit as a single person.
Yes.
And yet, this household already has two contributors.
It's paying more.
It's paying double.
No, but that is good for the scheme. You see?
So from the mathematics, the economists worked out.
The health economists.
The health economists, yes, and I'm sure there are lots of
costing experts.
Yes. So, as an individual household, if you have been contributing the said 2,000, if now you're required to contribute 1,000 per household, it means you have 1,000 shillings per month available in your pocket. So for you as an individual, yes, as a household, it's a plus. Because either way, you have been contributing, quote unquote, double for the same benefits as an individual person. So they have looked at it, and we have 12 million households in the whole country. And so depending on ability to pay all of these things, 300 to 3,000 per month, which is 3,600 per year to
36,000.
Yeah, the math is
not mathing.
Is not mathing
Take
today.
it slowly.
Yes.
Take it slowly.
So it's a contribution per household for the 12 million households. And the math here was already you contribute our health expenditure, almost a third of it is out of pocket spending. Only 10% is from premiums. So since you are contributing out of pocket anyway, let's convert this to prepaid, which is now all of those hustler funds, mama mbogas, and everyone. You are contributing anyway out of pocket. So put all those money into these pooled funds. Say NHIF is the one pulling all of these funds, and you remove the out-of-pocket payment. And the math still comes to the same, which was about 200 billion if you combine out-of-pocket plus the insurance prepayments, both private and NHIF, so that it's not really asking you for more money than you're already doing, one. And two, as a household, they have saved you X amount that the other person was paying. So there's actually more money in your pocket as a household. So now the others, now I think now will be the details about how to make sure that if your spouse is the one being deducted in X company, you who is in Y company then can come and say, we already did on the other person's beneficiary list.
Okay.
So I think now, obviously, where the rubber will hit the road is how to make that translate into something that is workable and implementable.
28 minutes to 10. Mercy, do you have a date for the 25th of September?
Concours d'Elegance.
That's
the date.
Uko na mtu?
You can be my plus one.
Ah, good. So, on Sunday, the 25th of September, Dr. Mercy Korir and I will be going to the Concours d'Elegance to see the vintage cars, vintage motorbikes. She'll be dressed
to the nines.
Yes. I'll just show up. Me just showing up. City will be right there in he'll be dressed like his vehicle.
Charles 2.5.
Remember, it's royalty.
Imagine Charles.
Charles 2.5.
Yes. Just put him out there. Charles.
Even the words he'll be speaking will be floating on the air.
Yes.
Good morning. Like that.
You know the royals don't say I, they say one.
On which side of the bed did
One
you two
is
wake up
feeling
this morning?
quite gay this morning.
I wonder what one would think of this.
Should I say I felt a spot of hunger?
Your Majesty.
You know, at this rate, the three of you are going to be in a spot of bother.
25th of September, Sunday, the African Concours d'Elegance, 50th edition, 50th. It's called Jubilee.
Yes, golden.
Jubilee, buana.
It goes with the metals. 50 is gold.
And then the next one is 75.
60 is diamond.
Is this 75?
Where does platinum come? Platinum?
That's why they were talking.
Platinum is 75.
That's why they were very big in 2013 when they were saying the year of the Jubilee, Kenya's Jubilee, and the Jubilee coalition.
But it goes with metals.
Was born.
It goes with metals and substances.
Gold.
Fine.
And then we move to
Diamond,
and then
platinum,
and then since when was a diamond a metal? It's a precious stone.
metal, all joined.
Oh,
now.
precious thing.
something.
Yeah, precious something.
It's precious.
That is all that matters.
Exactly.
That's all that matters.
Yes, it is precious.
Okay. 50th anniversary is the Jubilee.
You're not getting what I'm saying. I understand that it's a Jubilee.
Fine. So the rest of your metals, you keep your metals. We are going...
Golden. Jubilee.
All right. Golden.
It's a golden Jubilee.
Golden Jubilee.
Sawa.
To accommodate everyone.
Yes, gold. Even metal is in the Golden Jubilee metal.
Of the 50th.
Sawa.
Gold.
Okay.
Of the 50th gold.
Yeah, is that okay? Yes.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Introducing Watele, County 49, a rich county where the leadership has failed its people. Justice and peace are elusive while violence sweeps through the county. What will be done to save the people of Watele County? Watch County 49 as our heroes and villains clash in an exciting tale of corruption, greed, love, and redemption. Every week on showmax.com.
We know it is cold, but Cold Stone Creamery has hot deals for you. This month, enjoy cups of rich and creamy ice cream, delicious ice cream cakes, and fresh oven-baked cakes at amazing prices. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge in your favorite treats. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
If I look at the Premier League table, Manchester City is on top. Arsenal, number 2 in the table. Absolutely. How did Brentford get to number 3 in the Premier League table? They beat us like Burukenge.
Sugar and spice. What's your love language, French?
My love language is I want to be left alone.
What can't you compromise on?
Quality time and acts of service. Words of affirmation tutapata hata kanisani.
We do this.
All right. Cloudy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 20 and lows of 14. It's 19 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 25, and 19 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's raining at 14, and it's sunny at 16 in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 13. Raining in Mombasa, highs of 28 and lows of 23. We'll also see highs of 28 in Malindi, where it's raining at 27. It's sunny at 23, Kisumu, highs of 28, Kakamega, highs of 27, where it's sunny as well. Kampala is sunny at 24, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 29 in Dar es Salaam, which is currently at 24. 19 in Johannesburg, highs of 27. There's a haze over Lagos at 24, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 30 as well in a mostly sunny Kinshasa. Looking out into Beijing Friday evening, it's 32 and mostly sunny. 16 degrees and cloudy in Paris, and we'll see cloudy conditions throughout London, highs of 21 and lows of 16. It's clear in New York still Thursday night. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 27 and lows of 17.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
All right, looking much better now. There's a little bit of a hold up on the southern bypass, and that's outbound. That should be sorted out in no time, however. We're looking at Jogo Road with some traffic here and there, and in the CBDs where you see the most of it, at least for now. And we're also seeing underneath the expressway, Uhuru Highway, out to the city, traffic is bumper to bumper in some parts. And coming off Thika Superhighway is still pretty heavy, especially past that Utali Drift. Kiambu Road also has some traffic here and there, but coming out of Westlands looks much better than it was earlier through the morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Aim to keep things moving through the day.
Spice up your life.
It's 20 minutes to 10. We continue with a Healthy Friday conversation with Dr. Mercy Korir, who joins us every Friday at 9 to 10 a.m. The Kenya Kwanza administration is already in office. They have taken leadership of the Houses of Parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate. They will take leadership of the executive on Tuesday by 2 p.m. 2:01 p.m. It'll be fully inaugurated the Kenya Kwanza administration. There are things that they had promised to do when it comes to healthcare. We've just talked about, okay, how do you finance, especially the healthcare? How do you get the primary health working? The other thing that they also talked about is the supply of commodities. And they said, all right, so this whole issue of going to a hospital and then you're told, oh, hatuna nini enda ulete gloves or go and buy painkillers from this particular. So that they want to address that. And this is what they say, that we'll establish a stakeholder-managed national procurement scheme along the lines of the Petroleum Products Procurement Scheme to leverage on bulk purchases and also to bring transparency and accountability in the public procurement process. KEMSA scandals must end. They go further to explain. Pharmaceuticals and consumable medical supplies account for an estimated 20% of total health expenditure, translating to domestic market worth of 110 billion shillings. Where? In 2020, pharmaceutical imports were 76 billion. That's 70% of the 110 billion estimate, meaning that when other imported supplies are factored in, domestic production supplies less than 20%. Domestic pharmaceutical manufacturers have the capacity to manufacture a bigger share competitively, but they are hampered by the high cost of doing business and the tax regime to extent of shifting manufacturing to neighboring EAC countries and exporting to Kenya. So this is what Kenya Kwanza is going to do from Tuesday. We will A, work with pharmaceutical industry to address the tax regime and the cost of doing business. We will B, leverage on UHC to identify and scale up manufacturing of essential supplies so we can do competitively. And C, leverage on our human capital to work towards a regional pharmaceutical manufacturing hub. So basically they're saying local pharmaceutical manufacturers and manufacturers of other commodities will be supported so that we get all the things, most of the things locally. Number two, when it comes to procurement, it'll be like an OTS for fuel, the open tender system. You, Mercy, you have a company that supplies, or you, Ndu, you have something that a company that supplies. Me, I am KEMSA. We all come to the table and we have been told these are the needs of the health sector in the next quarter, or the next half year, or the next year. We bid, and the lowest bidder is given the contract to supply.
So let me start with the manufacturing bit first. We have, I think now we are 42. Anyway, let's say about 30 to 40 local pharmaceutical manufacturers in Kenya with the capacity to do manufacturing and supply medicines.
Like so, manufacturing of medicine, dawa,
yes, they do. For example, there's one here at Industrial that I was looking at their catalog. A dose of diabetes medicines for a month, full dose every day, was costing about 500 shillings.
Really?
Yes, because one, they are manufactured here, and two, because they are generic. So generics tend to be cheaper because the R&D costs have been borne by somebody else. But the challenge has been the importation, and you've read it's 70% of the medicines that we have been imported. And when they're imported, there's duty, taxes, middlemen, all of these things that eventually make costs high. When I was talking to some of my colleagues in the private insurance, private medical insurance, 40% of the hospital bill, and if you look also at your bill, goes to medicine, because you have branded medicine, or you, for some reason, when you go to those top tier hospitals, medicines are a bit costly. So you get 40% of that is medicine. But if they were to take the medicines that are manufactured locally and you're given that price or that cost will reduce by half. And that's what this manifesto is looking at. So there are two things here to look at. One is to have, do I call it a sensitization, public sensitization and awareness about generic versus branded medicines, because for a very long time, we've always assumed that generic are fake or counterfeit, which is not the case. Fake medicines, counterfeit are totally different. And when we're importing, we are at a higher risk of importing fakes and counterfeit because of wherever it is that they are being sourced. But if they are here manufactured locally,
Then
if
there's
I get
traceability.
if I get my medicine from Eric Pharmaceutical Company, if it has any problem, we know where you are. We know where and how to come for you and ask you what is the issue. And I've visited some of the manufacturing companies, and their quality standards and assurance is up to par with international standards. And so by all means, they should be able to manufacture. But now the issue has been on the taxes, on the cost. For example, if you even talk about electricity cost in itself, it really shoots up the overheads.
And that's why they're moving to other countries in the
Exactly, where manufacturing is different. So the Kenya Kwanza administration has to rethink and relook at how do we make manufacturing of these medicines less costly to the manufacturing companies so that they're able to supply these medicines. And so if you move that, so if you're spending 70% of your medicines on importation and you transfer that locally, that means that money that will circulate in the economy here. It means more employment because now you're looking at need for more people in the factories, you're looking at the supply chain and everything that comes with that. So it has an attendant or a consequent benefit to the economy. Now, the open tender system, I think this was born from the many issues that we've had with KEMSA. Remember, even now, the employees were home. The other day, they were advertising to fill in so many slots. They have a new CEO. So KEMSA, for very many years, has been riddled with very many issues. And so I think this is just as a point of having open.
So it's to introduce competition for KEMSA as well.
And transparency, yes.
Improve your own efficiency, then you can compete competitively in the market. If you don't, you'll be like National Oil.
Yes, and I hope through this, they will give priority to local manufacturers so that we literally buy Kenya, build Kenya.
That's a very good thing on paper. You know, practically, 70% blah, 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 blah means people's businesses. People's businesses means influence. Now, reality. Do you think this is actually implementable politically? On paper, the idea, fantastic. If you come to start implementing it, you're basically saying that Kenya Kwanza has got to look at the people who benefit from this and tell them, you guys...
They have to break the dam.
As Okiya said,
go upstream and break the dam.
Yes.
They are the owners of the dam.
So, personally, I think it's doable. The local manufacturers, there are certain medicines they cannot manufacture, say chemotherapy for cancer, some really high-end medicines, which we cannot manufacture locally.
Why can't we manufacture them?
Because of the, what's it called? The manufacturing, no.
Not patents.
No. The lines, you have to,
the process.
The investment.
the investment, that capital investment. Sometimes you weigh and you look at your market, then it's easier to import.
Simply import.
So there's, and if you look at, say, some cancer medicines, how many people will need? So it doesn't make economic sense to make that capital investment for something that may not give you a return unless you're assured of a wider market. So there are certain group of medicines that may not be able to be manufactured here. But now when you're looking at the essential medicines, paracetamol, amoxicillin, for example, this diabetes medication and hypertension medication, those can be manufactured here. So you can split actually and have your everyday high turnaround or high turnover medicines manufactured here. Then those who are importing then can focus
Specialize
on this high end, which not everyone will need every day, and they are costly to even manufacture.
And that's where my problem comes in, Nasi. You see, when you're telling these barons that focus on only importing 20%, which is about 20 billion, as opposed to the 70 that you've been making, and then this 20 billion, also the consumption is not as high. when they were bringing the amoxicillin and the others, it's fast-moving medical supplies.
Also,
these guys are going to push back hard.
Somebody has to buy the bullet.
It is true.
For the better good of the country. Somebody has to.
Yeah.
Mercy, you are absolutely right. Absolutely. But reality, as Eric preambled this discussion at this level, is look at the association of business moguls and politicians and the involvement of politicians in business and how it is just that matrix that I have actually spoken of is a lucrative one. So we are saying that given the involvement and even the contribution that these individuals have in the political processes that we have, you're saying you want to bring this to an end or you want to shake it up and you want to interfere with it. I've now introduced the reality, which is a political aspect of, yes, how will this work?
Somebody has to
if you look at the KEMSA issue, okay, we are going to fry and quarter the people who work at KEMSA. But the political influence is what brought about that mess.
Yeah.
And which is still very alive today.
Yes.
It's still there.
And the players, if you look at the beneficiaries, we may not see them, but it's political. That is why, to date, the people who are actually involved have not been mentioned.
Yep.
So maybe then the question is, Mercy, that are those who are in a position to do something about it ready to then bring down the axe on these individuals who they know are holding the system ransom?
Political will.
Is the will there?
I hope they're ready.
I'm taking this discussion further. Are they willing to do it to themselves? Because some of these things don't work unless you have politicians who are at that high end involved. So, are they going to cut their own feet?
I hope they're willing.
The only way not the only way. One of the ways in which this could work is if the pressure then comes from the public. All right. So the authors of this very beautiful document are people who mean well, are people who just sit and they're looking at, okay, so this makes sense. Logic. This, logic. They have not interacting and they are not interested in interacting with the politics at this particular stage. Now, if the rest of us can engage and say, this is what we'd like, this is what was promised, this is what we'd like, push. Even if you reduce that 70% importation to 65%, it's a step. And you're heading that direction. And then you're also telling President William Ruto and his health minister at the point that we've got your back. And yes, you will not, because they're the same ones, you will not continue benefiting from this money that you've been making, you and your friends, but you will have the political support where you can then benefit elsewhere.
I think what gives me some hope, and I often say you cannot afford to not have any hope, is that this particular manifesto in general, but on the health aspect specifically, was developed after listening to the stakeholders, to the people who actually know where the shoe pinches, to the people who implement, the people who have to tell people, today medicine OS out of stock. So they had an input, they had a say in all of this. Even the manufacturing aspect, for example, was fronted by the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya. So what gives me hope is that, one, it was a participatory conversation that involved those stakeholders at that level. But as you said, the next bit then should be to now come down and say to Mwananchi, this and this is what we have in mind. These are the details on how we think we can implement this, how we think we can put it together, so that you and I, as citizens and the potential beneficiaries of this, can understand and be part of that journey. So that, as you say, we have a pull effect on all of this conversation, as opposed to now having it as a creme de la creme kind of conversation and boardroom conversation to come
waiting
down to
for the
us.
elite to actually shoot themselves or cut
So
their feet.
I'm hoping that, because this was somebody said it's a statement of intent. I hope after the statement of intent and they've been given the mandate, the next bit is now to come and say, do Eric, Charles 2.5, let's have this conversation. This is how we think we can continue with this particular health agenda.
What would you say would be the first steps towards this? Because even as we're saying, all right, so next Tuesday, then you're coming in. But it's a today problem. And the problems are today problems. What would you say would be the first thing that then ought to be tackled if they're taking, some of this advice?
So some of this, from what I see, is an issue of policy, for example. Say you can have a government policy where hospitals or distributors have 50% of their medicines locally sourced, for example. That one doesn't need a lot of, it doesn't need legislation. The other bits for NHIF, for example, have already been legislated through the NHIF Amendment Act. It's now mandatory to pay for NHIF. So it's now about having that blueprint, SOPs, whatever it is, to make sure that that is actualized and made to use. And what needs legislation, they have both houses of parliament. I think it shouldn't be difficult. So for me, what I see, and I think I was laughing when Okiya was saying it doesn't want to be the one people are saying, I have not worked because this person has been going to court. I think they cannot say we are not able to do A, B, C, and D because we don't have the numbers. So for me, it's about, if this is what you said you'll do, you have the numbers. If you need to make any legislations, you need to do that. You'll have the government. So from a policy perspective, at the Ministry of Health, you can do that. From going down to county level, you have the numbers of the governors. You are able to, sell the idea, have a conversation, have their buy-in, and have that translate to, the county governments.
Yes, it is possible. But you see the question that Eric raised, perhaps a change of thinking. Are we saying that the political class who are in bed with the business class are willing to actually do the right thing, and instead of just profiteering, because this is what supplies do and importations, set up these industries? Look at this thing, make it a long-term project so that, yes, you will make money, perhaps even with bigger volumes, but you'll have invested. Because why do we have the term briefcase entrepreneurs in this country? There's an English word which was equivalent. It was manufactured in America after the Civil War. Okay, they were actually called carpetbaggers, meaning somebody who could actually carry all his belongings in a bag that could just go. Okay, now they were profiteers. They noticed after the Civil War the opportunities. They didn't build. They simply sought means, scary influence, do the other, and they were. And so when Reconstruction was taking place, this is what happens with devolution. We are, in essence, reconstructing our economy. Now, do we have people who are willing to actually put in the back-breaking work of developing, building institutions, creating industry? Because when you import directly, you're not creating any industry, you're just making money. Okay? Now, that is the breaking of the dam that needs to take place. Now, does this party, does this political dispensation and the people who are going to run it, do they have the will to do it?
From the 14th day of September 2022 and 100 days after that, we'll be able to see.
We shall see. We shall see. They'll have no excuse at all.
No, they don't.
They'll have all the instruments of power. They'll have control of houses of parliament. They have a good number of governors who can start being, the implementers of some of these ideas in their counties. So everything, by the way, is aligned.
Is in place.
For Kenya Kwanza.
And goodwill from half the country that voted for the administration.
The way Kenyans work, they'll fall in line.
Goodwill is from everybody.
It's from everybody. Okay.
If you listen to conversations, people have said it's okay.
Let's
Please,
go.
you do what you
now
need
do
to
it.
do.
Yeah.
Then they have
Goodwill
the
is from
goodwill.
every Kenyan. Let's conclude the conversation today. So when you go to County 49 this weekend to visit, episode 3 is out. It's on Showmax. 49. It's out. And you'll find it. It's ready.
The weekend plan.
Yes. That's the plan for the weekend. Yes. Watch County 49 on Showmax. Episode 3 is out. Interesting. It's one. Boatele.
Boatele. Boate?
Si Mwatela.
Friday effects.
No, si Mwatela.
Ni Boatele.
Boatele.
Na si Butari.
No, it is not.
Nasi Kitale.
Nasi Kitale. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation this week. Join us again from Monday We'll be looking into Uhuru Kenyatta's exits and the inauguration of William Ruto as the 5th President of the Republic. Have a lovely weekend. It's 10 a.m.